What's up, guys? This is Corey with DBS Decks. So today we are going over our Set 7 review. So we've got all of Set 7, we've got the SCRs, we've got the Expert deck, we've got the Starter deck, we've got the Dash Pack promos, we've got the Tournament Pack promos. All that's finally been revealed to us, and everything's all up over on the site with the exception of the SCRs. We're actually waiting for the official Bandai images to get revealed to us so we can upload the best image possible. We do have what the cards do and everything like that. It's just like a screenshot of a screenshot and different things like that, so we're not going to quite upload those until we get everything, so be looking forward to that. We've kind of wanted to wait to do this official set review. We wanted to wait for all the cards to get revealed. It's better to have all the knowledge of what the set is doing before you just try to kind of guess and things like that. And then also the ban list. Once the ban list was out there, we knew we could really kind of go forward with the set review because you can kind of gauge things based on what's banned, what's not banned, what to expect, and things like that. Some of these cards would almost be unplayable in a minus Killy Zone format. So now that that's all here, we can actually get into it. So first off, let's get into our ranking system. So we are a 1-star through 5-star, 1-star being the worst, 5-star being the best. 1-stars, these are cards that have something of interest, but they're unlikely to see play. These are typically your filler type cards. These are the cards that you'll probably play in like a sealed or a draft type format, but they're not going to see a lot of competitive play. 2-stars, these are have some potential and people may experiment with them, but they don't have any powerful, obvious applications. These are just more filler cards. They're kind of a step up. You may see these in decks, but they're not core pieces or anything like that. 3-stars. These are promising cards which can be included in current decks or look to be a big part of an archetype moving forward. So these are kind of your bread and butter type cards that kind of fill out decks. 4-star, these are cards that will certainly see play and will probably have notable impact on new decks and older decks and things like that. These are definitely cards that are going to be played. And then finally, you've got the 5-stars. These are key players and top tier archetypes or cards that will see play across a whole number of decks, or their staples and different things like that. These are like their best of the best type cards. So now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the set. Alright, so first up we've got Broly the Recurring Nightmare. On his front side, he is critical. Auto, whenever you play this card in your leader area, choose the 1 Dormant Legend card in your deck and activate it. He's an untap 1, draw 1 leader. On his backside, he's an auto whenever this card attacks, draw a card, and then activate battle once per turn. Choose 1 card in your hand, place it in your drop area, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with 10,000 power or less, and KO it. So we'll cover the front side first. Obviously, being able to, as soon as the game starts, put a field card into play for free is a very strong effect. That way you don't have to pay for it to play it later. So that's a good thing going for Broly. Having critical on the front side is really nice because you're able to pressure your opponent without giving them hand advantage. The main downside of Broly's front side is he doesn't draw. He has no search engine or anything like that, so that's a little bit of a downside. Generally, leaders today have some type of draw on the front, whether it's a look up the top cards of the deck, pick a card, cut a life, or something like that. So not having that's a little bit of a negative for me. Then into his Awakening, since he's an untapped draw one, that's fine. We've got leaders that are successful doing that right now. Obviously, you'd love for it to be an untapped 2, but they're kind of drifting away from that a little bit. And then on his backside, being able to attack and draw cards is very good. That's kind of where you want to be at a leader. His activate battle once per turn. You can do this on both your turn and your opponent's turn, which is nice. But the main problems is A, this doesn't interact with barrier, so you're not able to pop any of those guys, and then B, 10,000 power or less is kind of like a really low number to interact with. There's just not a lot of cards just like instantly, okay, that's a 10k that I want to pop. You're looking at things like Borgos or Whis or something like that, but you're running a red deck, so those aren't cards that are really bothering you to begin with. Cards like Crush's Crusher, maybe you could interact with that. So that's a little bit of a downside. The Broly engine itself, and Red in general does this, but the Broly engine in particular has a lot of cards that interact with power levels, like decreasing them for your turn and your opponent's turn. So that's really what they're going with this, is to have all those pieces together and then use his ability to KO things. So that's not too terrible. It just requires other cards in order for this ability to be useful, which I'm not a fan of in general. I'd rather have a leader that's just good on its own merit. We're going to go ahead, we're going to give this guy a 2-star. I think he's alright. I don't think he will ever be like super competitive or anything like that. It's probably a fine like locals type deck or something like that. People may have fun with it. There may be some things in the future with it, we'll kind of see, but as of right now, I think he's kind of a lower tier leader. Alright, moving on, Broly Counter Reversal. Permanent. During your turn, this card gets plus 5,000 power and can attack battle cards in active mode. Auto once per turn, whenever your opponent activates a counter skill, deal 1 damage to them. So this is a fantastic card. It's a 4-drop 20k, which is not too bad. You can use the Dormant Legend field card to put him into play for free, which is really nice. Being able to attack active mode battle cards is very good, especially at 25k. That's like the right magic number. And then his auto is just fantastic. It's not a ability we've seen really ever in the game, especially because it works on both your and your opponent's turn, if on your opponent's turn things were to become relevant. But this puts your opponent in awkward situations, especially as the game wears on. The lower life totals your opponent gets to, the more they have to really consider whether this negate is worth it now, or this preemptive strike is worth it, or this bloodlust is worth it, or whatever it is. So you're really putting your opponent in kind of an awkward situation. Like once you get your opponent down to 1 life, negates are gone. They can't activate negates, first and foremost. So that's a really great ability to have. You can just automatically press your opponent right there, get to 1 life, this guy's out, you can't negate me. And so now you just have to out combo me. So this is a great place to be. Overall, I'm going to go ahead and give this a 4-star card, a 4-star rank. I think this is a fantastic card. I think obviously you can play it in the Broly deck. You can really play it in anything. It's not leader restrictive or anything like that. I think one of the better applications for this is in the Prison Frieza type deck. I think this is one of those kind of cards it was probably missing. Alright, moving on, we've got Broly Demonic Origin. So this is a multicolored card. It's a 2 cost, 1 red, 1 green. It has a permanent. If there's a card that is both red and green in your energy area other than this card, negate this card's energy exhaust skill in all areas. This is a very, very nice effect. So a lot of the downside of playing these multicolored cards in your energy is because of energy exhaust that comes into play tapped. Well, that basically pushes your turn back. Like it's almost as if you didn't charge an energy for that turn and your opponent's turn because it just sits there. This gets around that. So if you charge a multicolored card turn 1, you can just charge this on turn 2 and you're good to go. This is a really great effect. I really enjoy seeing this, and the fact that they are limited. There's only 2 cards in the set that have this effect. So I'm really happy with that. And then he has an auto. Whenever you play this card, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and places in their drop area. Another really good effect. So he's green, so hand destruction is a thing. He's an OG Broly, so you can search it out with all the OG Broly stuff. I think one of the better places for this card is with the Shinon hand control type deck. You're able to assemble the squad and just put him out into play for free and make them pitch a card, which I think is very strong. Overall, we're going to give this a 3-star. I think it's a very good card. It'll see play for sure. It's not overly dominant or overly overpowered or anything like that, so I think he's kind of a middle of the road, but a very good card. Moving on, we've got Broly Rapid Barrage. So it's a 4-drop multicolored card. It's a 20k. It's got a rival red-green for 1 red. Only 1 Broly Rapid Barrage can be played in your battle area, and you can't play this card from any area unless Dormant Legend is in your drop area. A bit of a restriction because you have to have the field card in the deck in order to play this card. He's got the auto, when you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 10,000 power until the end of your opponent's turn. This is what we were talking about with the Broly leader. This does it on both turns, so that's really nice. So you can use an effect. Unfortunately, again, it doesn't interact with barriers, so it's a little bit of a negative there. But there are great applications for this. It has a rival, so you can play this on your opponent's turn to give something minus 10k, which is really nice. And then auto, whenever your opponent combos, you may choose 1 card in your hand and place it in your drop area. If you do, choose one of your opponent's combo cards, or choose one of your opponent's combo area cards and place it in the owner's drop area and negate the skill for the duration of the turn. Very good effect. We've seen this effect before in, there was a Frieza, like power stealing cell, the promo back in set 1. I never unfortunately saw play. There's just more of the deck than it was the ability. The ability is very good. So I do like that. The only problem is you do have to lose a card in order to do that, so it's not fantastic, but it is a good, it's in general just a very strong ability. We're going to go ahead and give this guy a 2-star. I do think it is somewhat playable. You are restrictive because you have to have the Dormant Legend card, which I'm not a fan of, just having to have 1 card in order to play another, so we're going to kind of keep him there. Next up, we've got Broly Tragedy Foretold. So this is it's a 6-drop, it's a 30k, a rival for red-green. Permanent, only 1 Broly Tragedy Foretold can be played in your battle area, and you can't play this card unless Dormant Legend is in your drop area. So just similar to the card we just saw. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and they get minus 15,000 power until the duration, or to the end of your opponent's turn. Very good effect, because you're able to bring this out on arrival for 2. You can just add a surprise out of nowhere, like lower 2 things down, minus 15k. Like especially barrier cards, you can just kill 2 barrier cards for 2 energy, which is really nice. It also works with the leader ability, giving like a 25k minus 15, so now the leader can just pop them. Obviously, the leader doesn't interact with the barriers, so you got a little bit of a disconnect there. And then auto, whenever your opponent combos, you may choose one card in your opponent's combo area and place it in its owner's drop area. If you do, negate the skill for the duration of the turn. This is just a straight upgrade from the one we just saw, like we talked about. I do think this card is much better than the one we just saw. It still has the same negatives of only being able to be played with Dormant Legend, so there's a little bit of a restriction. We're going to go ahead and give it a 3-star card because I do think it is playable. It'll probably see some play in the Broly type deck. It's not restricted to that deck, but it is restricted to the Dormant Legend. Again, a lot of these cards kind of flash in with that Frieza Storm type deck, so I wouldn't be shocked to see some of these finding their way there. Next up, we've got Coco's Grandpa, Village Oldster. I'm not going to waste your time. This is a 1-star card. It's filler. It's not worth talking about. Next up, we've got Coco Village Princess. It's a 1-drop 5k. Activate main once per turn. Choose one card in your hand, place it in your drop area, draw a card. So we've seen this effect before, Fledgling Talent Pan. Now every color is going to get access to this type of effect, which is not too bad. We're going to give it a 2-star. Next up, Denial of Hope. So this is a red extra card. It's a 2-cost, 2 red. If your leader card is red, if the battle card your opponent is playing has 20,000 power or less, it is placed in its owner's drop area instead of being played. So it's really nice. I do like the 20k power or less as opposed to the 4 energy cost or less restriction. There's different things where this interacts with where Preemptive Strike wouldn't, and vice versa, obviously. The only negative is because it is red. Generally speaking, red leaders and red decks aren't like leaving energy open. Generally, they're getting close to tapping out or only leaving like 1 energy open in order to, because they're being more aggressive on their turns. So it's a little counterproductive there. I do think this fits into like the Prison Frieza strategy, like we talked about with a lot of these other cards. I do think this is probably one of the missing pieces for that deck. So for that, we're going to go ahead and give it a 3-star because I do think it is playable. It's just going to be a little bit more awkward to make a fit for it in a deck. Next up, we've got Dependable Brother Son Gohan. So it's a 4-drop 20k. EX Evolve for 1 red, 1 other off of a Son Gohan Adolescence with an energy cost of 3. Has double strike, then auto whenever a card evolves into this card, draw 2 cards, and if there are no other battle cards in play in your battle area, choose up to 1 green Son Goten card and 1 green Trunks Youth card with an energy cost of 4 from your drop area and play them. So I do think this is a very strong card. If you're playing the whole Son Gohan and the Son Goten and Trunks whole engine, this is an instant of in your deck just because of what it does. There's a card that we'll get to a little bit later. This cheats out for really cheap. It's a very strong card, so this makes that whole engine very playable. So for that, we're going to go ahead and give it a 3-star. I do think it's playable. It's kind of niche in the decks that it can fit in, but in those decks, I think it is a strong card. Alright, moving up, we've got Dormant Legend. So this is the field card that all these cards have been interacting with. So it's a permanent. You can't place cards under this card except with this card's skill. Auto, whenever a card is in your life is added to your hand or placed in your drop area during your opponent's turn, place the top card of your deck underneath this card. So if they crit you or they just straight up attack you and you take it, you put a card underneath this card. If they attack you with double strike, as far as I'm aware, you're putting 2 cards underneath this. And then activate main. If there are 3 more cards under this card, place this card in your drop area, choose up the 1 red Broly card with energy cost of 4 from your deck and play it, then shuffle your deck. So like we said, you get to play this for free with the Broly leader. Being even at a 2 cost, it's not a terrible card to play. Like, especially if you go first, you want to play this before they've ever had a chance to attack you. Now this card's just live. Is really strong. I don't know if the 2 Broly cards that specifically need this are strong enough to like build a whole deck around this, but it's definitely interesting to see because I do think it is a strong card. We are going to go ahead and give this at a 3-star because I do think it is playable. Alright, next up, we've got Elder Village Guardian. So this is a 2-drop 10k card. It's a combo. It's a 0-cost combo for 5,000. Auto, whenever you combo with this card and your leader card is red, you may choose 1 card from your hand and place it in your drop area. If you do, choose 1. Choose up to 3 battle cards with energy cost of 3 or more and powers of 35k or less and into your drop area and place them at the bottom of the owner deck in any order. Or choose 1 battle card in your opponent's drop area, return it to its opponent's deck, then shuffle and they shuffle their deck. So it's a very interesting mechanic. It's a recursion mechanic. This is something we've not really had like wide access to in the game. Black's had it a little bit, and Yellow's had it a little bit with the Bojack stuff, but this opens the door for every deck moving forward to have access to this. This is automatically, you can say, okay, cool, this is an out to Janemba, which it most certainly is. So that's a very good. It also gives you an out to mess with your opponent, like sparking or warp type effects and things like that, because you can put one from their drop area back in their deck. That's probably not going to be like super useful in a lot of situations, but its first skill is very, very, very useful, especially since you just have to combo with this card. You do lose a card in order to do it, so you're going -2, but what you're getting back is just very, very strong. We're going to go ahead and rank these as 4-star, and I'm going to give this to all these card effects because I do think there's something the game was missing, and now that we have those, it's very exciting moving forward. Alright, next up, we have Exalted Trio Sun Goten. So it is a 2-drop. 1 red, permanent, only 1 Exalted Trio Sun Goten, can be played in your battle area, and if you have a Videl card in play in your battle area, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand and battle area by 1. So if Videl's in play, this costs 1. Auto, whenever this card attacks, if there's a Trunks Youth card in play in your battle area, this card gets plus 5,000 power and double strike for the duration of the turn. So we've had a lot of these Goten and Trunks kind of combination effects. If one's in play, the other one gets a buff. They're both in play, they get all these buffs and everything when they attack. So it's not too bad. The fact that you can play it for 1 by having Videl in play is really nice. If you're playing like the Sun Gohan deck that's running this whole engine, these are probably cards you're going to have access to. But overall, it is restrictive because there's only certain types of decks that can play these cards. So for that, we're going to go ahead and give it a 2-star. I do think it is playable. I don't think it's too bad of a card. It's just kind of a basic, generic engine card. Next up, we've got Exalted Trio Trunks. He's a permanent, only 1 Exalted Trio Trunks can be played in your battle area, and if you have a Videl card in play in your battle area, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1. It's the same thing as the Goten, and then whenever this card attacks, if there's a Sun Goten card in play in your battle area, this card gains plus 5,000 power and critical for the duration of the turn. So if you look at it this way, on turn 1 you play Videl, turn 2 you play Trunks and Goten. For 2 energy you're swinging with a 15k double strike and a 15k crit, which isn't too bad. That's not bad at all. For that same thing as the Goten, because they work together, we're going to keep it as a 2. Next up, Exalted Trio Videl. It's a 1-drop auto. Whenever you play this card, look at the 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose up the 1 red or green Sun Gohan Adolescence, Sun Goten, or Trunks Youth card among them, then add them to your hand, then place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck. So this is the card that the game is wanting you to play with the other 2. The problem I see with this card is that there's another Videl that's just much better, and that's the blocker Videl that's just free if your leader's Gohan. But, I mean, this is a searcher, so it does replace itself. We're going to keep it as a 2-star just because it kind of keeps the whole engine. Next up, we've got Familial Bonds. So this is a 2-drop extra card. Permanent, this card gains Desire in all areas, and then activate main if your leader card is red. Choose up the 1 red Saiyan card in your drop area with an energy cost of 3 or less and 15,000 power or less, and play it. If you played a card, choose up the 2 Dragon Ball cards from your deck, add them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. This card is, again, very, very good. There's one deck in particular, and we're looking at, the GT Triple Flash engine that this deck is an instant inclusion of a 4 of. This helps Wish leaders as well. Red ones, obviously, which we only have the 1, which is Peel Off, which isn't great. But overall, I think this card's very good. We're going to give it a 3-star. There's just not like an absolute ton of applications for this card, but I do think it's very good in the decks it's going to be played in. Next up, we've got Father Figure Piccolo, so it's a 1-drop 5k. Auto, whenever you play this card, look at the 7 cards from the top of your deck. Choose at the 1 Sun Gohan Youth card with energy cost 2 less, and then add it to your hand and shuffle your deck. It's just a generic searcher that replaces itself. It's probably going to be just a 2-star. You may play it in decks that need it, but generally speaking, you're not going to have a lot of access to these. Next up, we've got Helping Hand Sun Gohan. It's a 3-cost, 15k. It's a counter attack. Negate the attack and play this card. Counter is activated from your hand by playing the card's energy cost, and then permanent during your opponent's turn. If Sun Goten and Trunks cards are in play in your battle area, reduce the energy cost in this hand by 2. So, if you've got the Trunks and the Goten, you're paying just 1 for a negate that combos into the 15k body, which isn't terrible. We're going to put this about a 3, because I do think it is very good for the deck that it's playing in. Usually with these come into play negates, they're usually like a 5k, but this is a 15k beater that you can also evolve off into the 4-drop Gohan that we saw earlier. So all in all, very solid card. Alright, next up, Kaioken Son Goku Defender of Earth. It's a 7-drop, 25k, deflect, energy exhaust permanent. If there are 20 more red or green cards in your drop area, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 2, so it becomes a 5-drop. Auto, whenever your life reaches 1 for the duration of the turn, this card gains triple strike, dual attack, and can't be KO'd by your opponent's skills. Then activate main, choose 1 card in your life and add it to your hand. Your opponent reveals their hand, and you choose up to 1 card from it and place it in their drop area. And this card gets plus 25,000 power for the duration of the turn. So, a lot of stuff going on here. This card's very good. It's very strong. This is like if you take away its energy cost and everything like that, this is the best finisher in the game, just because if this activate main isn't a once per turn, so if they're at 6 life, you can activate this 5 times. Go all the way down to 1, they give them triple strike, dual attack, and 25,000 power for each time you take a life, so you can just make them absolutely huge, and you can rip all the negates out of their hand. Very, very strong. At worst, this is a 50k triple strike, dual attack that you rip a card out of their hand and it can't be KO'd. So, very, very strong. It does have the restrictions of it is expensive. It's a 7-drop or a 5-drop. No arrival or anything like that, which I think is a good call. And in order to make it a 5-drop, you need 20 or more red or green cards in the drop area. That is a little bit restrictive. Not a lot of decks can actually do that. There's a leader in the set that instantly interacts with this to do that quicker. I don't know that the leader is strong enough to make a deck around the leader so you can just play this. I think there are other strategies out there to make this more viable. So for that, we're going to go ahead and give it a 5-star just because it is one of the strongest abilities in the game. It is restrictive, but it needs to be because it is such a big closer. Alright, moving on, we've got Krillin, Unforeseen Savior. So this is just a super combo. Super combos are great. We're going to give it a 3-star. Last Resort Vegeta. So it's a 3-drop, 15k. Or 10k, excuse me. With Deflect, auto, whenever you play this card from your hand and your leader card is Raditz card, you may choose 1 card in your hand and place it in your drop area. If you do, choose up to 1 Powerball from your deck, activate it, then shuffle your deck. This card's fine. It's stuck to a leader that's not fantastic. Also, it makes you go -2 in order to get the Powerball out, which isn't great either, especially with Raditz, who doesn't draw. It does do interesting things. There's a whole chain to work around this, and this is the best way to really go up the chain. We're going to give it a 3, because if you're running that deck, you're running this card. I'm more inclined to kind of give it a 2, but I think 3 is probably alright for it. Alright, so let's move on. Alright, next up we've got Mach Speed, Kaioken Son Goku. It's a 3-drop 15k, counterplay, play this card. Permanent, if a multicolor card is in your energy, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1, so it becomes a 2-drop. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 10,000 power for the duration of the turn. Then, if it's your opponent's turn, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. So you're doing this for 2. You can effectively give 1 card minus 15k, or give 2 cards minus power, which isn't terrible. Costing 2 is a little heavy, like we talked about with the red deck. You're not really keeping a lot of energy open. I do think this may potentially see play. This may be more of a sideboard card than it is a main deck card, so for that we're going to keep it as a 2-star. Next up, Natade, Village Monster. It's a 2-drop, 20k vanilla. Things that are important about it: it's an Earthling, so it has effects that do things with Earthlings. This can get. We're going to go at a 2-star. It's fine. It's a vanilla. Obviously, vanillas are more important now than they've been in the past, but this doesn't do anything overly whelming. This is probably much better in a sealed type format because it's 2-drop 20k. There are cards that interact with it, so it's just not absolutely terrible, but it's just kind of middle of the road. Next up, Raditz the Oppressor. So it's a 1-drop auto. Whenever you play this card, draw a card. Auto once per turn. Whenever your opponent switches energy to active mode using a non-keyword skill, choose one of your opponent's energy and place it in its owner's drop area. So this is the Borgos Luis effect that Red's been missing. Red had access to this in the Veku. That required you to fusion it out. He did have barrier though, so that was kind of the advantage to him. It's a very good effect. We're going to give it a 3-star just because this is the type of effect that needs to be in more cards in the game, and now that every color has access to it, I'm totally happy with that. Next up, we've got Shaman Ritual Master. It's a 2-drop 5k auto. Whenever you play this card, draw a card, so that's good. Auto, whenever a card in your opponent's life is placed in their drop area, you may place this card in its owner's drop area. If you do, choose up to run 1 red Natade Village Monster, the thing we just looked at, with an energy cost of 2 from your deck and play it, then shuffle your deck. This isn't a terrible card. It's kind of a nifty card because you're able to cheat out things and draw cards, so it replaces itself, then pluses 1 into the deck, or out from the deck. Without having you to pitch a card from your hand or something like that, so it's kind of good there. Costing 2 is a little bit and it forces you to it also forces you to crit your opponent in order to get the effect, which is a little bit right there. So for that, we're going to keep it at a 2-star just because it does have some interesting effects. Alright, moving on, Son Gohan and Son Goten Familial Bonds. It's a 4-drop 20k. Son Goku or Son Goten, Son Gohan, and then Trunks' childhood, which those are important traits. Alliance red-green, so you can, whenever this card attacks, you can choose some of your battle cards that are red and green, put them in rest mode, and then he gains power equal to their power. So if you tap down 3 5Ks, he gains 15k, which is pretty cool. And then whenever they're switched to rest mode, he gains triple strike for the duration of the turn, which is really nice. And then auto, whenever you play this card, activate this skill for the duration of the turn. When your opponent uses a skill to play a battle card, your opponent chooses 2 cards from your life and place it in the drop area. So that by itself isn't great because there's not a lot of things that really interact with that. The Alliance red-green is very good. They gave him triple strike. The most important aspect of this card is because he is a Son Goten. Or a Trunks, so the Gohan that we looked at earlier that puts a Son Goten or whatever into play, this works. You can put him into play. You can put a 4-drop 20k that gains triple strike out of play off of EX evolving for 2. So for that, we're going to give it 4-star because I think it's very good. This could potentially be the closeout and what that deck needs and everything like that, so very good card. Next up, we've got Son Gohan and Son Goten Brotherly Bonds. It says that activate main once per turn, burst 2. You may choose 1 card in your life, add it to your hand. If your opponent has 5 or more life, deal 1 damage to them, so you're dealing with burn. And then awaken whenever your life is at 4 or less. You may draw 2 cards and flip this card over. Auto Sparking 5, this card takes effect. Sparking, whenever this card attacks, draw a card. And then auto once per turn, when one of your battle cards activates Alliance, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with 30,000 power or less and KO it. And then activate main once per turn, Sparking 5, choose 3 cards in your hand, place them in your drop area, choose all of your red and green battle cards, then both the chosen cards and this card gets plus 10,000 power for the duration of the turn. It's a very good leader. It does things new to the game, which is burn. I say burn's new, but this is the first time a leader has had access to burn. So you can almost, just by the fact of having this leader, you can guarantee you're going to get your opponent at least a 4, which is very good. So it's a very good way to just kind of start the game. It's burst, so it fills up the drop. Burst isn't always great, but for what this does, it's necessary to kind of restrict it a little bit. Where this card gains a lot of attention is off his activate main once per turn Sparking 5 to give all of your battle cards and him plus 10k. It's a very good effect. Just right there, this leader's playable. You just, by the nature of what this leader does, have a triple flash leader right now. He's a red Saiyan that gives something plus 10,000 power, so you're good to go. So I do think it's very good. We're gonna give this guy a 4-star. I think this is one of the better leaders in this set. I don't think he's just overly broken or anything like that, but he's just a very good leader. Alright, next up we've got Son Goku and Piccolo Budding Friendship. It's a 2-drop 10k with Energy Exhaust and Alliance red-green. So you can choose any red or green battle card and put them in the rest mode. And then he gains power equal to their total power of the card switched to rest mode by the skill. And if you switch a Son Gohan Youth card to rest mode using the skill, you draw 2 cards, and this card gains critical for the duration of the turn. Very good card. At 2-drop, it's nice. We've got a 1-drop Son Gohan Youth, so you can start doing this on 2 just to have a little draw engine going on. Obviously, it's only at 10k, so they can deal with it pretty easily on their turn. But on your turn, this is just a great little effect. We're going to go ahead and give this guy a 3-star because I think it's a very good card. Next up, we've got Son Goku Heavenly Salvation. Auto activate the skill whenever you play Son Gohan and Son Goten Familial Bonds in your battle area. If Son Goku Heavenly Salvation isn't in play in your battle area, you may play this card from your hand. So this is the 4-drop 20k that we looked at a little bit earlier that we can put into play for free off the 2-drop EX Evolve. And then auto once per turn whenever this card is switched to rest mode by Alliance. If you only have Son Goku, Son Gohan Adolescent, Son Goten, and/or Son and/or Trunks Youth cards in play in your battle area, choose this card up to one of your battle cards and switch them to active mode. So the strategy with this is you swing with the Son Goten, you tap down all of your red or green battle cards, you use the Son Goku Heavenly Alliance's Salvation to untap the Son Gohan, and untap this guy, so now you can swing again with him afterwards. So effectively gives the Son Gohan and Son Goten dual attack triple strike, which is very, very good, especially because you can just play this guy for free. He's a 14k, so that means he can't apply pressure on the backside, but you're not ever really using him to swing, you're using him to get this alliance effect, which is strong. So we will give this guy a solid 3 stars. Next up, we've got Super Saiyan 3 Nappa, Saiyan Might. So this is one of the Infinity rares, kind of like campaign rares or FR rares for the set. It's a 4-drop 20k critical permanent. If you have any non-red cards in areas other than your deck, hand or life, you can't play this card from any area. And then auto, whenever you play this card from your hand, choose to one of your opponent's life and place it in their drop area. So we're going to rank this 2 different ways. We're waiting on clarification to see about how this permanent actually works. Some are arguing that you can't include multicolored cards in the deck because it would read that and see the green or whatever and say, cool, I can't play this. Or because it's both card colors at the same time, it's like, okay, cool, I can play this. I'm more on the boat that you can play this in multicolored cards, but if we get in a situation where you can't, this card becomes like way worse. It's not fantastic to begin with because it costs 4, but some cool interactions with this. It's like a great card for Pan. Like if you can play multicolored cards, that's a great like little inclusion right there. Being able to just burn your opponent for 4 isn't too bad. We've got ways to kind of ramp up the burn that you really only need to like push 1 damage, and this might be an easier way to do it instead of like trying to attack. So overall, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna rank it twice. If you can play it with multicolored cards, it becomes a 3. If you can't, it becomes a 2. So whenever we get a clarification on that, it's really going to depend on how good or not this card is. Alright, next up, the Final Guardian. So this is a 1-drop negate. Counterattack if your leader card is red. Negate the attack, then choose with one of your battle cards and it gets plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. Permanent, if this card is in your drop area, you can activate it by playing its energy cost and removing it and 1 card in your hand from the game. Auto, when you activate this card, you can't activate the Final Guardian for the duration of the turn. Okay, so these are a new mechanic that has been introduced in the game, this set. So almost every block they've introduced new types of negates. We've got our, way back when we had the take a life negate if you had a certain type of leader, which were very good, like the sacrifices and things like that. Last set we had the sparking negate, so you could take a life if you have 5 in the drop. And then they had an effect, and now we've got the play from drop negates, or the drop negates, whatever you want to call it. They'll come up with a name for them, I'm sure. But these are very good. These are basically get past the get good and draw the negate after a Gogeta or something like that. You can get, cool, this isn't my drop, I just negate. We're good. The plus 5,000 power to a battle card, because you're playing this on your opponent's turn, it's not super relevant. Outside of things like a Deadly Defender or something, which could be kind of nifty, but not super relevant. But just being able the fact that you can have a negate that just is chills in your drop area and then you can kind of play it whenever. You can only do it once per turn, but I do think these are very strong. We're going to give all these a 3 stars because there's a lot of decks that can take advantage of these. There's probably really great sideboard options for negates, so overall these are very good. Alright, next up we've got Vegeta Saiyan Elite. So it's a 6-drop 20k, double strike. It's a red-green multicolored card. Auto once per turn. Whenever this card attacks, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand and sends them to the warp. Very strong effect. And then activate made once per turn for a red and a green. If your lead card is a green Saiyan card, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So even more burn. Which a lot of these cards are doing, is just burn. I think this card is good. It's a little pricey at 6, and there are ways to cheat it out. But that requires a lot of pieces to kind of go right and everything like that, and you need energy and this, that, and another. This is an SR in the set. I do think it is strong. It'll probably see play. I don't know how like a ton of play it'll see. I'm going to give it a 3. It's kind of in that same line of that Broly. You can only really play it in like 1 deck, and I don't know if it's even like good enough to play in that deck. So we're going to stick it there. Alright, and then last for red, we've got Wilderness Training Son Gohan, so 1-drop 5k, auto whenever you play this card, draw a card. Again, these cards are just, they're good. They're a solid 2. They're playable. This one is a little bit more playable than other ones because of the alliance, the Goku and Piccolo that we saw earlier. To be able to, if you tap a Son Gohan Youth, you draw 2 and gain critical. So this one's a little bit better than your traditional like 1-drop boot card. So I do like these. These are solid 2 cards, 2-star. This is like the definition of a playable card. It replaces itself, and that's kind of all you need. So that is red. let's go ahead and get on into blue. Alright, so first up we've got All Too Easy. So the counterattack, this is a drop negate, so we're not going to cover that full mechanic, but his gimmick is you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 1 and return it to its owner's hand, and it does the same thing. Same thing as the last one, we're going to give this a 3 because these are an interesting effect to have in the game. Alright, Almighty Do-Over Zeno, so this is a 5-drop 19k, deflect, and then auto whenever you play this card, choose all battle cards, return them to their owner decks, and all players who return cards in their decks shuffle their decks. A lot of people were speculating that this card was going to be like, oh, now they're going to ban Zeno, and obviously that didn't happen, not yet. But this card doesn't work nearly the same way as Zeno, so first of all, you can't Zeno it, or you can't chain tag it out, which I know that's the argument of why Zeno needs to be a hit. And this card doesn't interact with Barrier or Indestructible, and it costs 5, so it's super expensive. I'm going to give this card a 1. I don't think this card's very good. I don't think this card will ever be played. Especially in a format where you just have Zeno. You can chain into Zeno, which is much better. Now, if Zeno were to get hit, maybe a 2, because it's still not very good. Alright, moving on. Beerus Fickle God. So it is a multicolored card for blue-yellow permanent. If there's a card that is both blue-yellow in your energy area other than this card, negate this card's energy exhaust skill in all areas. So this is the same thing like the Broly that we saw earlier in the red. Still very good. And then auto, whenever you play this card, draw 1 card. I think the Broly is way better than this card, just because the Broly has a better effect by making your opponent pitch a card, or this is one you'll never actually want to play, because it's 15k that just draws you a card, which isn't like terrible, but it's not like great either. But because of the permanent effect, we're going to give it a 3-star, because I think it's playable in multicolored decks. Alright, next up, Betrayal of the Master. So it's a 1-drop extra card, activate main, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost greater than or equal to your opponent's energy and return it to its owner's hand. This is a very nice effect. We've seen this effect in the game before. We had Gallic Gun, which costs 2, which this is just better than Gallic Gun. Gallic Gun may not have had the restriction of the energy cost. It may have just had bounce a card. But I do think this is good. It's not super playable in a lot of decks. It's probably a pretty good sideboard option. So we're going to give it a 3-star. Alright, next up, Bulma Saying Farewell. It's a 1-cost 5k, or 1-cost 1k, excuse me. Auto, when you combo with this card during your turn, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 3 or less and return it to its owner's hand. The downside is that this is a 1-cost 5k combo, which isn't very good. At that point, because you're targeting a 3-cost or less, just play Goten Family of Justice. So we're going to give this card a 1-star. Alright, next up, Champa and Vados, Gracious Aid. It's a 4-drop 19k, arrival for blue, yellow, and 1 yellow. Permanent, reduce the combo cost of all blue and yellow Universe 6 cards in your hand by 1. Fantastic ability. Permanent, if this card is removed from battle area by an opponent's skill, you may choose 1 card in your hand and place it in your drop area instead. If you do, this card remains in the battle area, switch it to rest mode, then choose one of your opponent's energy and switch it to rest mode. Another very good skill. So we've seen this combo reduction type thing work in the Apes deck before. The King Vegeta Ape did this, and that was very playable. This U6 engine has a lot of cards that come into play off a combo. So now you can just start playing them for free. Very, very good card. I'm going to give it a 4-star because I think it's almost like a key cog in that whole U6 engine. Alright, next up, Fuse Zamasu Divine Providence. It's an 8-drop 30k multicolor blue-yellow. Indestructible. Union Patara for 4 blue and 2 yellow. Auto, when you play this card with Union, your opponent reveals their hand and you choose up to 2 cards from it and add them to your energy and rest mode. So just initially looking at this, you're like, well, crap, why do I want to rant my opponent? We'll get there in a little bit why that is important, and this is kind of the finishing touches to what that deck's trying to do. This is probably only playable in that one particular deck, so because of that, we're going to keep it as a 3-star, but in that deck, it's very good. Alright, next up we've got Fused Zamasu the Cunning. So it's a 4-drop multicolored card. That's a 14k. Counterattack, negate this attack and play the card. It's indestructible. Aegis blue-yellow once per turn. If you pitch 2 cards that are pitch a card that's blue and a card that's yellow, you can activate Aegis, then choose up to 2 of your energy and switch them to active mode. And then permanent, if your leader card is a Zamasu card and it's your opponent's turn, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 2. So it becomes a 2-drop for 1 yellow, 1 blue. That negates the attack and has Aegis. Aegis is a really cool effect because you can untap energy on your opponent's turn. You are negating several cards in order to do that, but in certain situations that's like super necessary. We're going to give this a 3-star. It is playable. I don't even know if it's playable in the whole engine, but it is, like, at bare minimum, a very playable card. Alright, next up we've got Goku Black and Zamasu Fuse Zamasu Supreme Strike. So on the front side, we are Goku Black and Zamasu, auto whatever this card attacks. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to one blue or yellow Goku Black or Zamasu card, among them add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. So we're not drawing, but we're searching, which is effectively the same thing in this type of deck. Awaken. When your opponent has 3 more energy, you may draw 1 card, then choose up to 1 of your energy and switch it to active mode. So an interesting awakening mechanic, you can't necessarily control it. Because if your opponent is like, cool, I'm just going to stay at 2 energy, then you can never awaken, which sucks. Until you like ramp them or something like that, which that can do, and that's not like a super viable strategy now that I talk about it, but it is something to be aware of. Overall, it's very good on the front, it's just kind of standard, you search instead of draw, which is fine. And then auto, on the back side, auto, whenever this card attacks, look at the 5 cards from the top of your deck, and choose up the 1 blue or yellow Goku Black or Zamasu and add it to your hand, so it's the same effect. Auto, when this card attacks a leader card, this card gets minus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. Activate main once per turn. If your opponent has 8 or more energy, choose up to 4 cards from your opponent's life and place them at the bottom of their owner's deck. And then activate main once per turn for 1. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards and return it to its owner's hand. So, a lot to go on here. Zamasu always has like interesting effects with the leaders. As an alternate win condition, like if you get them to 8 energy, you just win the game because that effect is free. Whenever it attacks a leader, it gets minus 5k. So what this is basically saying is that once you get to this certain point of the game, you're not pressuring your opponent to take a life. You're swinging for nothing effectively and just drawing cards off the top of your deck while your opponent just doesn't do anything. That's kind of what it's getting you at there, which is a very interesting effect in and of itself. Its activate main, the bounce stuff is very nice, just because it's control, it's stally, things like that, which is what this is trying to do. All in all, this is such an interesting leader. It's so like weird and so restrictive, so I can't give it like an incredible rating. We're gonna stick it at a 3. I do think this is a very interesting leader. There's a lot of interesting things about it. I'm interested to see if this deck has real potential. It's a strategy that's never been around before. I'm ramping your opponent, but it has a solid win condition if that's achieved. The way the whole deck works is your opponent can only safely charge to 4 energy, and then you have a way to ramp up the remaining 4. So, I mean, you can ramp up the 4. If they charge 5, you could easily ramp up the remaining 3. You can ramp up the remaining 4. It's a little harder. One of my favorite leaders in the set, just because it does all sorts of weird shit. Alright, moving on. Goku Black Evil's Accomplice. That's a 2-drop, 10k. Deflect. Activate main once per turn. Choose 1 card in your hand, place it in your drop area. Choose up to 1 mass replication from your deck. Activate it, then shuffle your deck. It's a solid card. Being a 2-drop is a little expensive, but we do have cards that can cheat this into play for free, so that makes it much better. Mass Replication is a very good card once we get to that. So we're going to go ahead and rank it as a 3. It's a deck you're going to play in. It's a card you're going to play in this deck, but it's not like a game changer by any stretch of the imagination. So let's move on. Alright, Goku Black, the Replicator. So it's a 4-drop, 20k auto whenever you play this card, and your leader card is a Goku Black or Zamasu card. A lot of stuff here. Choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, place it in your opponent's energy in rest mode, then play 1 shadow token. Shadow tokens have 10,000 power, 0 combo cost, and 5k combo power. Then, if your opponent has 3 or less energy, reveal the top card of your opponent's deck. If that card is a battle card, place it in your opponent's energy in rest mode, otherwise draw 1 card, then your opponent shuffles their deck. So, a couple different things about this card. For 1 is ramping your opponent's energy at least 1. which is what we want to do with what this leader's doing. So that's good. It's also removal. It gets rid of something. It just puts it in their energy. Like, okay, cool, I don't want to deal with that guy, so I'm just going to put it in your energy, which is another really great effect. It puts a shadow token into play, which is good, especially once we get to the master replication. Its secondary effect, if they have 3 or less energies, probably never going to become a thing. Unless you're able to, like, on 2 objection ramp up to 3, then on your turn 3 you charge to 4, and then you activate this and you put something in their energy. Now they have 3, and now you ramp them to 4 if you reveal a battle card. That is possible, but it's like a very like awkward thing to have happen, because then you're tapping out and everything like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this guy a 3-star, just because it's on brand of what the deck's trying to do with the ramp and everything like that. You're at least ramping them 1, and you're removing a battle card and putting a token into play. So for all those positive effects, it has to be at least a middle of the road type card. Alright, next up, go Masu's Master. So this is the same effect that we had earlier in the shuffle 3 into your deck and everything like that. This is the blue version of it. I believe I gave that one a 4-star, so that's what we're going to do here. Alright, next up, Kale, Sister of Annihilations, a 4-drop 20k, EX evolve for 1 blue over a Kale with an energy cost of 1. Auto, whenever a card evolves on this card, you may choose all of your battle cards other than this card and place them in their owner's drop area. If you do, choose all of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 4 or less and return them to their owner's hand. The card's not great. It's probably a better sideboard card if your opponent has a lot of like Swarm and Rush and everything like that, because you can get this out on like turn 2 on a blue Kale of 1. So from there, it's not too bad, because you're able to just like board wipe. Kami's probably better in most situations, even though that costs 1 more technically. But we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna give it a 2. It does have some application, like as a sideboard card. It's not like super great. All right, next up we've got Kale, the Awakened Sister, for 4 cost for 2 blue, 20k critical. Auto, during your turn, at the end of the battle, after you combo with this card, choose up to 1 of your blue Kale cards in play in your battle area and play this card on top of it. So it evolves for 1. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, but negate that card's skills for the duration of the turn and return it to its owner's hand. So, a couple things here. That's a 20k crit, which is very good. It evolves for 1, which again is very good. And then its secondary effect is very, very good. One of the most instant applications you can talk about with this is this gets rid of Broly's, like the starter Broly, the whole chain. You're like, okay, cool, you got the big 7 or 8 drop Broly that I want to deal with. Okay, I'm going to evolve for 1 off of a Kale that you just left and didn't kill. And now I negate your skill and I bounce it back to your hand, so you can't play the SCR. Very good. I think this card is very good in a lot of different decks, because we're indestructible cards, because it negates the indestructible part. So we're going to give it a 4, because I do think this card is very good. At the baseline, 1 for a 20k critical is very good too. So. Alright, next up we've got Kale, the Timid Sister. It's a 1-drop permanent. This card can't be KO'd by your opponent's skills. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose the 1 blue or yellow Universe 6 card in your drop area with an energy cost of 3 or more and add it to your hand. So this is more recursion. This is the 1-drop Kale that evolves into the big Kale that we saw earlier. We're going to give it a 2-star. It's playable in that deck, not much else. Alright, next up, Kefla, the Peak of Perfection. It's a 4-drop 20k, arrival for blue-yellow, energy exhaust, auto whenever you combo with this card. If your leader card is Universe 6 card and it's your opponent's turn, you may choose one of your opponent's energy and then switch it to rest mode. If you do, your Kefla Peak of Perfection card's auto skills don't activate for the duration of the turn. And then auto, whenever you play this card during your turn, choose the one of your opponent's battle cards, switch to rest mode, then negate the battle card skill until the end of your opponent's next turn. This card's weird because like the best application for it is just comboing it, so you can tap your opponent's energy down. You can only do it once. Likely you're not actually ever playing this guy or this girl. You can energy or arrival it out for 1 yellow, which isn't bad. And then you get to tap down something and negate its skills for the duration until the end of your opponent's next turn. So if you do it on your turn, you can do it for 2 turns. So that's really cool. Like the best application for this, I still think, is the combo card. But if you've got like the Champa in play, it's free to do that, which is pretty cool. We're gonna give it a 3-star. It does have a lot of applications though. All right, next up we've got Mai, filled with energy. It's a super combo. We're gonna give it a 3. All right, Mass Replication. Waiting for this card. It's a 2-drop field card. Permanent. Shadow tokens in play in your battle area can't attack and gain blocker. Auto, once per turn. When you play a Goku Black card in your battle area, if your leader card is a Goku Black or Zamasu card, play 1 Shadow token. This card's very, very good. This is going to make the Zamasu deck a pain in the ass to deal with, because they're going to be able to get this out turn 2, and then from there, every time they play a Goku Black, they get a Shadow token. Every time they play a Goku Black that puts a Shadow token into play, they get another Shadow token. So they're just going to be ramping up their board full of little chip blockers that are 10Ks, which are just going to be a pain in the ass to deal with, like, quickly. It'll make it really hard to really kill the Goku Black type decks. We're going to give this a 4-star card, because I think this is a fantastic card. It is restrictive, because you got to play Goku Blacks, and you got to have a Goku Black and Zamasu leader, but this is good. This is good in old Zamasu, new Zamasu, Goku Black, everything. It's a very good card. Next up, we got Meteoric Energy Kefla. It's a 7-drop 30k multicolor. Union Patara for 1 blue or 1 yellow over a blue Kale and a yellow Caulifla with energy costs of 4 or more. It has Barrier, it has Aegis, and then auto, whenever you activate Aegis, choose up to 3 of your opponent's energy and switch them to rest mode. This card's fantastic too. A lot of what the yellow-blue stuff is trying to do is tap your opponent's stuff down, and this is the height of mastery effect. Cool, I'm just going to tap down 3 of your energy. Obviously, you can only do this on your opponent's turn by activating Aegis, so you have to pitch 2 cards in order to get this effect. It's still very good. It is kind of restrictive because you have to have a blue and a yellow Caulifla with energy costs of 4 or more, but I think that's not like a terrible workaround. They don't have to have the same power level or anything like that, so we're going to give this guy a 4-star because I do think tapping 3 down on your opponent's turn is very strong. Alright, next up, Meteoric Energy Super Saiyan Blue Vegito. It's an 8-drop 30k. Union Patara for 2 blue, 2 yellow over a blue Sun Goku and a yellow Vegeta. It's got Barrier, Energy Exhaust, Auto when this card attacks. If your opponent has 3 more energy, choose up to 3 blue or yellow battle cards in your energy area and combo with them. You can choose up to, so you only have to choose 1. And then Auto, whenever you combo with the battle cards using this card's skill and your leader card is blue, if you have 3 or more battle cards in your combo area, choose all of your opponent's battle cards and energy, switch them to rest mode, and those cards can't be switched to active mode during your opponent's next charge phase. Fantastic. Like we're talking about, blue and yellows wanting to tap shit down, and this does it in, like, tons. You can effectively lock your opponent for the rest of the game once this guy hits, as long as you can combo 3 cards at a time. You only have to choose 1 from energy, and as you'll see as we get in a little bit more cards in this color, a lot of them, if you combo it from your energy, it goes back to your hand, or it goes back into play. So there's ways to get around all that, which is fantastic. Very good. I'm going to give this guy a 5-star, because this is a game-changing type card. Alright, so moving on. Alright, next up we've got Saiyan Bloodline Sun Goku. It's a 1-drop blue Sun Goku, 4k. Auto, whenever you play this card, look up 3 cards at the top of your deck, choose up to 1 blue or yellow Saiyan card among them, add them to your hand, and place the remaining at the bottom of your deck in any order. It's just standard, like Tutor. We're going to give it a 2-star. Alright, next up, leader card. Sun Goku and Vegeta, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, Energy Eruption. Permanent. If your life is at 4 or less, this card gains plus 5,000 power during your opponent's turn. That's a relevant skill, as we'll get to later. Auto. When this card attacks, draw a card. Activate main. If you have 4 or more energy, choose up to 1 blue Sun Goku and 1 yellow Vegeta card in your hand with energy cost of 2 or less and play them, and you can only play Trunks Future and Vegito cards for the duration of the turn, and you can't activate this skill for the duration of the game. So, a lot of great things, positive things on the front side of this leader. The plus 5,000 power on your opponent's turn, at 4 or less life, is very relevant when we get into the hit stuff. He draws a card, and then he cheats 2 guys into play once, which is relevant because then you can just fuse off of them. And then his Awaken is whenever your life is at 4 or less, you may draw 1 card and flip this card over. That's relevant because you're cheating 2 guys into play, then you can just instantly fuse into, so being able to untap after that would be just busted. So they restricted him that way. Alright, Auto. When this card attacks, draw a card. Auto once per turn. When you combo with 1 or more battle cards with a combo cost of 1 in your energy area using a skill, choose up to 1 of those battle cards and place the battle card. When the battle ends, the chosen card is returned to its owner's hand instead of being placed in its owner's drop area. So, like we talked about with the Meteoric Energy Super Saiyan Blue Vegito, or we're comboing out of our energy. If we combo a 1 cost from our energy, instead of that going to the drop and we're just losing it, it goes back to our hand. There's a really cool effects there to being able to continually start recycling that stuff. Like we said with the Vegito, you only have to combo 1 from your energy, so you can continually keep doing this, which is very strong. I do think this leader is very good. It makes the whole Vegito deck playable, and so for that we're going to give it a 4-star, because I do think it's very playable. I think it's very good. And he's blue, so he gets all the blue cool stuff. Moving on, Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black, Inviting the Darkness is a 3-drop 10k with barrier. Auto, whenever you play this card and your leader card is Goku Black or Zamasu card, add the top card of your deck to your energy, so it's ramping you, which is good. Auto, whenever you play this card and your leader card is a Goku Black or Zamasu card, at the end of your opponent's next turn, reveal the top card of your opponent's deck. If that card is a battle card, place it in your opponent's energy area. Otherwise, draw 1 card, then your opponent shuffles their deck. So, this is very good. Like we're talking about, this is the ramp strategy for the Zamasu. This ramps both of you, which is good. It's a 3-drop, and it activates that energy at the end of your opponent's turn, and it puts it in rest mode, so they don't actually get any positive aspect of that, because going at the end of the turn, it's tapped in rest mode, so they can't use it to defend and all that other good stuff. A very, very good balanced card for this whole engine. We're going to give this guy a 4-star. I think he's much better than the 4-drop, especially because he has barrier, so very good. Alright, next up is Super Saiyan 2 Trunks, Memories of the Past. So he's a 6-drop 30k, double strike, permanent. Only 1 Super Saiyan 2 Trunks Memory of the Past. Can be played in your battle area. Auto, when you combo with this card from an energy area using Meteoric Energy Super Saiyan Blue Vegito skill. Place this card at the battle. Place this card in the battle area at the... Play this card at the battle. End of the battle. Excuse me. And then auto, whenever you play this card, draw 1 card, then choose out the 1 card in your hand and add it to your energy. So, this is still working with that whole engine, but this is effectively a 6-drop double striker 20k or 30k that you can play for free. So you swing the Vegito and you combo with this guy, and then a 1-drop from your energy. At the end of the battle, you tap all your opponent's stuff down. This guy comes into play. You draw a card, then choose 1 card in your hand, put it in the back of your energy, then that 1-drop you comboed with goes back to your hand. So all around, you can see how this energy is. It's very good. Outside of that, though, this card's probably unplayable, being a 6-drop 30k double striker. So we're going to put him as a 3-star. Alright, next up, Super Saiyan 3 Trunks, Saiyan Harmonizer. 4-cost, 20k, double strike, permanent. If you have any non-blue cards in any areas other than your deck, hand, or life, you can't play this card from any area. Same thing as the Nappa. Auto, whenever you play this card, you can't play Super Saiyan 3 Trunks Saiyan Harmonizer for the duration of the turn. And then auto, whenever this card attacks, choose all battle cards without keyword skills in your drop area and combo with them in your combo area. So initially this looks really strong, then you look at it a little bit more and not so much, because it has to have no keyword skills, and super combo is a keyword. So you can't take your super combos and combo with it, so that's a negative. You have to potentially be running a mono blue deck, or at least like a mono or like a blue yellow multicolor deck. You can only have multicolored cards in your energy or your drop area, which is really weird. And then its activate main is once per turn for 4, draw 2 cards and switch this card to active mode. That's not bad, but you're never going to be able to do this in the same turn, and they'll just kill it on the next turn because it is pretty strong. So for that, we're going to give this guy a 2, regardless of the interaction with the multicolored cards or not. I don't think this card is that great. I think the Nappa is like more playable than this. So we're going to keep him there at a 2. Alright, next up, Super Saiyan Blue Sun Goku, the Sweeper. It's a 2-drop 15k auto. Whenever you play this card, you may choose 1 card in your life and add it to your hand. If you do, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy costs of 4 or less and add it to your, return it to his owner's hand. It's not too bad. Being able to pay 2 and Awaken is really good. It's a blue Goku for those situations where we need it, like with the leader or the fusion and things like that. It's 15k, so it can apply pressure, it bounces things, it has a lot of value. So for that, we're going to give it a 3-star. Alright, next up, Trunks, Fighting the Darkness. It is a 1-cost, 4k auto. Whenever you play this card, you may choose 1 card in your hand and place it in your drop area. If you do, choose up to 1 yellow Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta with energy cost of 2 and up to 1 Super Saiyan Blue Sun Goku, the Sweeper from your deck. Add them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So traditionally, this card probably wouldn't be super playable. It's just like a traditional searcher or tutor type deck, tutor type card. But this serves a couple purposes. So it's a 1-cost card that you can put in your energy that works with your leader. It also finds the 2 pieces of the puzzle that your leader needs in order to put them into play. So for all of that, we're going to give it a 3-star because it is going to be played in that particular deck. Alright, next up we've got Trunks the Sweeper. It is a 2-cost 10k auto. Whenever you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 2 or less, ignoring barrier, return it to its owner's hand. Hand bounce isn't terrible. Obviously KOing something would be better. It does interact with barrier, which is nice. 2 costs or less is a little awkward. There's not a lot of things you really want to mess with in blue. So for that, we're going to give the guy a 2-star. Alright, next up, Undying Spirit Son. Gohan's a 3-drop 15k, counterplay, play this card. Permanent. If a multicolored card is in your energy, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 4 or less, return it to its owner's hand. Then, if it's your opponent's turn, choose one of your blue energy and switch to active mode. So, if you're playing this in a multicolored deck, you're effectively playing this for 1. You're technically paying it for 2, but then it untaps in energy. So you can kind of get around that. Plus, it bounces something. It's not a negate, so it doesn't like negate an attack. It can effectively negate an attack because whenever they play something, go, okay, cool, 2, bounce it back to your hand. And then untap. And then if you're running cards that interact with you whenever they untap, you draw cards and this, that, and other. So there's some strategy there. It's not a terrible card. I probably would have liked it better if it was an actual negate, because then you could effectively negate 2 attacks with it. So we're going to put it as a, 3 stars fine. 3 stars not too bad. Alright, next up, Vanilla Votto. She's a 3k vanilla, 30k. 2-star. It's a vanilla. Alright, we're about the end of the line here with blue. Alright, first up we got Whis the Regulator. So it is a 1-cost blue. This is the once per turn, choose a card in your hand, place your drop area, draw a card. It's playable, it's great. We're going to put it as a 2. And then finally, you're wide open. So this is a counterplay. For 2 blue, choose, if your leader card is blue, if the battle card your opponent is playing has an energy cost of 4 or less, it is returned to its owner's hand instead of being played. This is alright. It's not fantastic, because you'd much rather it like put it in the drop area, because they can just play it again later, but being able to bounce a 4 cost back to your opponent's hand really puts them off schedule, which isn't terrible. Blue's more likely to have energy open than red, just because that's what blue does. It untaps energy and things like that. So I definitely think this has more playability in majority of blue decks as opposed to what the red one did. We're still going to give it a 3-star. We're going to keep that pretty consistent with these counterplay cards. Of the ones revealed, it's probably like the second worst, but it's still good. Like, we're not pretending like it's a bad card by any stretch of the imagination. Alright, so that is all the blue. Let's get into green. Alright, so first up we've got Chaozu Desperate Measures. It's a 1-drop, 1k. Activate main, place this card in its owner's drop area, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 2 or less, and KO it. This card's not good. 1-star. Double Sunday. Activate main. It's an extra card. For 1, if your leader card is a Raditz card, he gets plus 15,000 power for the duration of the turn. For the duration of the battle, excuse me. Then choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 2 or less and KO it. This is cool. You want this in your Raditz deck. I probably would have liked it more if it warped a card from your opponent's hand instead of killing something. But it KOs it, so it doesn't interact with things like Chilai. We're going to give it a 3. I think it's pretty standard for these type of extra cards. Alright, next up is For the Greater Good. So this is our drop negate. And this gimmicky thing is it kills a 1 cost or less. So 3-star, still good. Alright, Great Ape Vegeta Energy Manipulation. Great name. It's a 6 cost, 2 green, 30k. Activate main. If there's a power ball in your battle area and Great Ape Vegeta Energy Manipulation is not in play in your battle area, place this card from your hand on top of a Vegeta card in your battle area with an energy cost of 3. Auto, whenever you play this card, activate this skill. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, this card can't be KO'd by skills or battles or be removed from the battle area by skills, so he's untouchable. Auto, whenever this card is placed in a drop area from battle area by skill, you may choose 1 red card and 1 green card in your energy area and switch them to rest mode. And if you do, choose up to one Vegeta card that is both red and green in your drop area with an energy cost of 6 or less and play it. So this is how you get out the Vegeta that we saw back in red, the 6 drop that whenever it attacks it warps 2, and you can pay 2 and burn a life. You can all do this on turn 3, then turn 4, go into the big guy. You still have to tap 2 in order to get the guy out, and then you have to find a way to get rid of this guy, which we'll get to later. There's 2 ways right now. I think it's a fun idea. I don't know if it's a great application, or that this will ever see just like a ton of play. So for that, we're going to put this guy as a 2-star. Alright, next up, Hidden Power of the Saiyans. 2-drop, 2 green, extra card, counterplay. If your leader card is green, your opponent may place the battle card they're playing in its owner's drop area instead of playing it. If they didn't, your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and places it in their drop area. So this card is very interesting. It works similar to like a preemptive strike. It just doesn't have any cost restrictions. Your opponent just gets a choice. Now, as of right now, the way it's being thought of is if you were to play this against a card that has deflect, they can't place the card in its owner's drop area with deflect, so that would force him to pitch 2 cards. If that's the case, 4-star card. If that's not the case, 3-star card. So it really depends on how it works. Alright, Kamehameha Blast Yamcha. It is a green super combo, 3-star. Krillin, 1-drop 10k vanilla, 1-star. Nappa the Cultivator, 2 cost, 10k. Activate main, choose 1 card in your hand, place it in your drop area, choose up to 1 Cyberman card from your deck, play it, then shuffle your deck. So this is similar to the mass replication where you can just start building an army of blockers. Works a little bit differently because that put tokens into play, but this actually puts physical cards into play, which is a little different because you have to neg cards in order to do that. You do have ways to put this guy into play for free. Well, not free, but not paying its actual energy cost. We're going to put it as a 2. The blocker mechanic is interesting. That it's able to just like cycle blockers like that. It may end up becoming relevant, so we're going to keep it as a 2. Alright, Piccolo Special Beam Cannon Unleashed. A lot of stuff on this card to read. It is a 4-cost 20k permanent. If you have a Green Sun Goku card with 20,000 power in your 20,000 power in play in your battle area, and Piccolo Special Beam Cannon Unleashed isn't in play in your battle area, you can play this card from your hand without paying its energy costs. So when I first read this, I just assumed 20,000 power or more, but it's not. It has to actually be 20,000 power. It makes this a little worse. Activate main, once per turn. Choose 1 Sen Goku card with 20,000 power or more in your battle area and place it in its owner's drop area. And then choose 1. Choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 2 or less, ignoring barrier, and KO it. If you KO'd a card, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand and places them in the drop area. Or choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. So removal effects are great. This is very specific because you need a Goku with 20,000 power or less. We've not covered it yet. There is a Goku in this set that's green with 20,000 power or less. My original thinking was you could play this with the Hyperspeed Son Goku that takes 2 life, gets up 15k, becomes a 30k crit. But you can't because it has to actually be a 20k to put it into play. And it can be a 20,000 power or more for the removal effect, but not to actually just play him for free. So for that, we're going to put him as a 2 cost because you don't want to be playing all these cards to get like a mediocre effect. Next up, we've got Powerball. So this is the field card, 3 cost, 1 green. Activate or auto. Whenever this card is placed in the battle area, choose the 1 green Great Ape card from your deck, add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. So you play the 3-drop red Vegeta. You go get this, put it into play. If this comes into play, you go get the Great Ape Vegeta Energy Manipulation, put that into your hand, evolve into it from the 3-drop, so on and so forth. Activate main, switch this card to rest mode, chooses 1 red or green sand card in your battle area, and it gets plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. Not a bad effect. And every turn field buff is nice. This feels bad paying for it for 3, as opposed to putting it into play for free. So we're gonna give it a 2, just because you never want to actually hardcast this thing for 3. All right, moving on. We've got Raditz. So everyone was excited for Raditz, and here he is in all of his glory. Auto, whenever this card attacks a leader card, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and sends it to the warp. Nice. Activate main, once per turn, look at the 5 cards from the top of your deck, then choose up to 1 red or green Raditz, Vegeta, or Nappa card among them, add it to your hand, shuffle your deck, and if you added a card in your hand, choose 1 card from your hand and place it in the drop area. Not so nice. Awaken. If your life is at 4 or less, you may choose up to 1 energy, switch it to active mode, and flip this card over. Yeah. And then on the backside, auto. Whenever this card attacks the leader card, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand, sends it to the warp. Very nice. Activate main once per turn, choose the 1 red or green sand card in your battle area, and it gets plus 5,000 power for the rest of the turn. So this leader is kind of a mixed bag for me. Warping cards on swing is very nice. Downside is that Raditz doesn't draw at all. Actually, his effect negs. In order, you have to pitch a card in order to gain a card, so you're negging. You are forcing your opponent to neg, but then they're taking life, and then they're not negging, they're staying at neutral. Which is okay. But the fact that this leader has absolutely no draw anywhere on it, on the front or the back, is just really hard for me to really evaluate him well. There are ways to make him be able to have draw, but now you're playing additional cards just so your leader does the basic mechanics of any other leader in the game, especially on its backside. If you could just attack a card on the backside to make your opponent warp a card, I'd be all on board with this. Fine, I get it. But because the fact that you actually have to attack a leader card, it is very restrictive. We think about, like, which obviously this isn't as bad as OG Broly, but you think about that, it had the same type of effect. Cool, I attack, you pitch a card, but then you take the life I just dealt you, and now you just have the same amount of cards in hand that you did. And that never really saw play. And unfortunately, that's where I feel like Raditz is going to be. I think there are some interesting things you can do with Raditz, so I'm not going to put him, like, bottom of the dumpster. I'm going to put him at 2. Realistically, I'd put him at like a 2.5, but I'm not going to put the graphic in for a 2.5. But I think that's where he would sit. Moving on. Raditz, Saiyan Assailant. 4-drop, 20k. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose up 2 of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 3 or less. KO them. Then your opponent chooses cards from your hand equal to the number of cards you KO'd with this skill and send them to the warp. So, a lot of things going on here. He comes into play, he kills 2 things, and he warps up to 2 cards from your opponent's hands. Very nice. For a 4-drop, I think it's a little expensive for a 20k. If he had been a 3-drop, like 15k, I'd have been on board. Or a 4-drop, 25k, I'd have been a little bit more on board. I feel like he's a little off curve for his energy and power level and everything like that. But being able to just get rid of 2 cards from play and 2 cards from hand is very, very strong, especially with what the Raditz leader is trying to do. So we're going to give this guy a 3-star. Alright, next up, Raditz, Saiyan Arms. It is a 1-drop, 1 green, 4k auto. Whenever you play this card, draw a card. Very nice. Activate main for 1 red and 1 green. Place this card in its owner's drop area. If the leader card is a green Saiyan card, so Raditz. Choose up to 1 Vegeta card and 1 Nappa card with energy cost of 2 or less and 10,000 power from your deck, and send them to your warp. Then shuffle your deck. At the start of your next main phase, play all the cards sent to the warp by this skill in your battle area. I think this is very nice. So for 2, you're putting in 2 bodies. 2 bodies that do things. We saw Nappa the Cultivator. That's one of your options. We'll get to the other option later. And the Vegeta option we won't see a little bit till later because it's not actually in the set. It's in one of the decks, the starter decks. So we can't get to that quite yet. So this is always going to be dependent on the Vegeta and Nappa cards that they print. The better cards that they print, the better this card gets. Just on a base level, I think it's playable, so we're going to give it a 3. Alright, Cyberman Endless Explosions. It's a 1-cost 4k blocker, permanent. You can include as many copies of this card in your deck as you like, so this is like Mecha Cooler or Meta Cooler. Auto, whenever this card is KO, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 1 or less and KO it. And an interesting plus effect, you can include multiple of these and have the Cultivator bring these guys out. At worst, you can just include like 5 of these and they're 1-cost blockers, which is pretty cool too. We're going to give it a 2-star. I do think these blockers have applications, so we're going to keep it at that. Alright, next up, Sun Gohan, Hope of the People. It's a 3-cost, 15k Gohan, Sun Gohan Adolescence, so it's relevant there. Permanent. Only 1 Sun Gohan Hope of the People can be played in your battle area, and if there's at least 1 Sun Goten Trunks Youth and 1 Videl card in your drop area, reduce the energy cost of this card by 2. So for 1, you play this guy, if those are in your drop, and then for 2 more, you evolve off of this guy into the red 4-drop Gohan that brings out the Goten and Trunks and everything like that, and then you just kind of go ham that way. So this card's a great card for that deck. This is really like the best Gohan to play for that because it comes out for 1. So overall, we're going to give it a 3-star. Alright, next up, Sun Gohan Momentary Awakening. It's a 1-drop 5k. Whenever you play this card, look at the top 7 cards from your deck, choose up the one green Son Goku card among them, add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So it's a standard tutor, so it automatically makes it playable. Some interesting things is that because it just finds a green Son Goku, this low-key can go find Victory Strike for you if you're playing a Victory Strike deck, so that's kind of cool. We're going to give it a 2-star. You're typically not playing these Searcher cards. It is a Son Gohan Youth, so it works with the Son Goku and Piccolo dual-colored card, but I think the 1-drop red Gohan is better. Alright, next up, Son Goku and then Kaioken Son Goku training complete. Auto, whenever this card attacks a leader card, draw a card. Awakening, when your life is at 4 or less, you may draw 1 card, then choose up to one of your energies, switch them to active mode, and flip this card over. Backside, permanent. You can't send cards from drop areas to warps. Not fun. Auto, when this card attacks, draw a card. That's good. Auto, burst 7. When your opponent attacks with a card, negate that attack, then negate the skill for the duration of the turn. Now remember, bursts are not required, so you don't ever have to activate this, but if you want to, you have a free negate that you just pitch 7 cards. And activate main once per turn. When your life is at 1, choose all of your opponent's battle cards with blocker and KO them. Very interesting effect there, because we talked about all the blockers and how prevalent they're being. Obviously, the instant application for this is the Kaioken Son Goku that we saw earlier that needs 7 cards in the drop area. This is a quick way to get it. You burst twice with a negate, and now you've got 14 cards in the deck in the drop, so you can probably get there pretty quickly after that. Because of the bursting 7 and such a large chunk like that, that's why you can't overwhelm. They don't want you to like, hey cool, I bursted 7, now I just overwhelm whenever I want. The blocker effect is actually pretty strong. The more prevalent these blocker decks become, the more prevalent this leader becomes. Right now, we're just going to give him at a 3. He could grow. He could potentially be a 4 though. He's also a Green Son Goku, so Feat Kamehameha is live with this guy. And any effects that interact with like green Gokus or Goku leaders, so there's always that to consider as well. Alright, Son Goten Out Adventuring is a 4-cost 15k EX evolve off of Renstead Goten with energy cost of 2, so it evolves for free. And then auto, whenever a card evolves into this card, your leader card is a Son Gohan Adolescence. Card, draw 1 card, switch this card to active mode, then choose up one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 4 or less and KO it. A lot of value out of this card. It's a free 15k that swings and draws and kills something off of a red Goten. So like we talked about earlier, you can like turn 1 play the 1-drop Videl, or turn 2 play the free blocker Videl, play Trunks, play Goten, swing, you got double strike 15 crit, double strike, or you got double strike 15k, then 15k critical, cool. Then you go evolve, untap, draw a card, kill something, swing again, and then the Trunks has one that we'll get to later. So all around pretty good cards, so we're going to give these guys a 3. Alright, Sorrowful Strike Tien Shinhan. This is the green recursion card. We've given all those a 4, so we're going to keep with that. Alright, next up we've got Super Saiyan Broly Legend Unleashed. It is a 3-cost 15k. Activate man, if your opponent has 3 more energies, choose 1 dormant legend in your battle area, place it in your owner's drop area, and play this card from your hand. Auto, whenever you play this card for the duration of the turn, if your leader card is a red Broly card, you can activate its Awaken skill even if you have 5 or more life. So this is a very specific type of card. If your opponent's like, cool, I see that dormant legend you're playing and I'm not going to attack into you so you can fill it up. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait. You're like, okay, cool, game 2, I'm going to side this bad boy in and now I can just flip at 5 and it doesn't matter. Limited applications, I don't know that you'll ever really play it that much. It's probably directly a sideboard card for that leader. So we're going to give it a 2. Last page, follow the green. Alright, Super Saiyan 3 Broly Saiyan Berserker. So this is the Infinity Saiyan Rare or whatever, where you can't have multicolored, or you can only have green cards or whatever it is, so we get a rule clarification on that. Alright, activate main. Alright, so it's an 8-drop 35k, let's just put that out there first. Activate main 4, choose 1 Broly's ring in your battle area and place it in its owner's drop area. Play this card from your hand. Very strong. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose the 1 green Broly card in your hand with energy cost of 7 or less and play it. Very strong again. Auto, whenever this card is placed in your drop area from your hand by a skill, and your leader card is a Broly card, choose the 1 Broly's ring from your deck, activate it, then shuffle your deck. If you do, choose the 1 or 2 cards from your life and add them to your hand. So, you play this, you pop the ring, you put another big Broly into play. Then whenever this card is discarded because of the ring, is what it's saying. Like, so you need 2 of these in play, if I'm reading that right. Let's pull this up. Yeah, so it's got to be placed from your hand. Okay, so I didn't actually realize that the first time I read this. I thought whenever it's just placed in the drop area. So you have to pitch this. Makes me like this card a lot less, actually. But ideally, this makes OG Broly actually playable again, because you can put a 7-drop into play for effectively 4. And then KO it, and then you play the SCR out of your hand, and this lets you take 2 life. So the roundabout way to go about it would be, you have to have 2 of these. Well, okay, so this also works as a self-awakening card early for you. So if you draw these early, because you can just pitch these. Okay, so there's multiple ways that this card works. I'm sorry, this racked my brain a little bit. So early in the game, if you have this, you swing at the Broly, you don't have the ring in play, cool. Now I have to pitch this, and then now you can just take 2 life. And then you go find the ring and put it into play. That's cool. The other way is turn 4, you play 4, play this, pop the ring, then you play a 7-drop or less Broly from your hand into play. Then you pop that 7-drop Broly and you put the SCR into play. Or you then like swing with leader, discard another one of these, go down to 1 life, then kill the SCR Broly in play. Or kill the 7-drop, put the SCR into play. So basically what this is getting the big SCR Broly Agent Destruction into play by turn 4 for Broly. Because of that, we still need clarification on the green, the multicolor stuff. But if you're running this in Broly, you're not running any cards that aren't green unless they're black, which is a little bit of a downside because you want to run like the Toa Overwhelm card. But if this is the case, this is probably better just to play the SCR and just say, alright, get it. I'm going to give this a 4-star card because I think this card's actually very good for OG Broly. It has a couple different interactions than what I thought of when I initially read it, because I didn't realize it had to come from your hand. But still, very good. It's probably closer to 3.5, but because this potentially makes Broly playable, I'm going to give it a 4. Alright, Trunks Out Adventuring. So this is the same thing as the Goten, where you can EX evolve off of Red Trunks for free. It's got blocker. And then whenever a card evolves into this card, if your leader card is a Son Gohan Adolescence card, draw 1 card, then switch this card to active mode. Same thing. This is the 10k. Because it's a blocker, you don't want to attack with it anyway. I'm just getting out a blocker for free. So not too bad. This guy is a little bit... We're going to give it a 3. I think 3 is fine. Alright, Unlikely Duo Son Goku. So this is the Goku to play a pair off the Piccolo. So auto, whenever you play this card, look at the 7 cards from your deck. Choose up the 1 Earthling or Namekian card among them, add to your hand, then shuffle your deck. It's a 3-cost 20k. Generally, when you come to that point, you don't want to be searching out of the deck at that point. You expect those in lower cost cards. It's not a terrible effect. But for 3 energy, it's a little underwhelming. So we're going to give this guy 2. Great, Urgent Aid Kami. Whenever you play this card, draw a card. Auto once per turn. Whenever your opponent switches energy to active mode using a non-awakened skill during their turn, choose up to one of your opponent's energy and place it in its owner's drop area. So this is our Whis and Borgos and now Raditz effect for green. These cards are very good. We'll give it a 3. Vegeta the Cruel, 3-drop green, 1-cost Vegeta. 1 green cost Vegeta. Counterplay, play this card. Permanent, if multicolor cards in your energy, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1, so it's a 2-cost. Auto, whenever you play this card during your opponent's turn, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost 4 or less, KO it. Then your opponent chooses 1 card from their hands and sends it to the warp. Again, this isn't a bad effect. We just can only pay it for 2, which sometimes become awkward. Green's a little bit more likely to sometimes have energy open, so it's not like terrible. We're going to give this a 3, though. Alright, Yajirobe Lying in Wait. It is a 2-cost 5k. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose 1 Vegeta card with an energy cost of 6 or less in the battle area and place it in its owner's drop area. So ideally, this is how you go up the Vegeta chain. You play this to kill the Great Ape to get out the 6-drop. But this does have an application because this just kills Vegeta with a 6 or less, so you can kill it in your opponent's battle area too. So it makes it a little bit more playable. We're going to put this guy at a 2 because he's very specific. Alright, and that is all of our green. So let's go ahead and get over to yellow. Alright, so first up, Botamo, Defender of Universe 6. This is our super combo. We're going to give it a 3-star because it's super combo. Alright, Kaba, Brimming with Spirit. It's a 1 cost, 5k auto. Whenever you play this card, draw a card. We're going to give it a 2, just because that's kind of what these cards are. This card has potential to be better just because of the different decks that can play this, but 2 is pretty standard for these type of cards. Alright, Kaba, Undisguised Rage, 2-drop, 5k, Blocker, Revenge. I'm going to give this guy a 2 as well. It doesn't do anything fantastic. Blocker and Revenge are both very good, but it's just kind of almost vanilla. Alright, next up our leader, Caulifla and Kale. On the back, Kefla, Soul Overflowing. Auto, whenever this card attacks the leader card, draw 1 card. Activate main, whenever you have 3 or more energy, choose up the 1 blue Kale card and 1 yellow Caulifla card with energy cost of 2 or less in your hand and play them. Then negate this skill for the duration of the game. So it's the same thing as what the Vegito did. Awaken, whenever your life is at 4 or less, you may draw 1 card and flip this card over. Important to note, this doesn't have the restriction of you can only play like Kefla cards and Kaba cards for the duration of the turn, like the Vegito did. And then it is on the back side, auto, whenever this card attacks, draw a card, then choose up the 1 Universe 6 card in your battle area, and both this card and the chosen card get a plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. So whenever this card attacks, it becomes a 20k draw card, which is nice, and it gives something else a boost. It's kind of a thematic like team engine that they're doing. I think she's a good leader. She's going to get a lower rating just because the other 2 leaders are both so good. But she has to be the weaker link of them, but she's still very good. I'm going to give her a 3. I do like the leader. It's just not as good as the other 2 leaders that you'll see. Alright, next up, Caulifla, the Awakened Sister. It's a 4 cost, 2 yellow, double strike, 20k. Auto, during your turn, at the end of the battle, after you combo with this card, choose the 1 yellow Caulifla card in your battle area and play this card on top of it. So you're evolving into a 20k double striker for 1, which is nice, or free, as you'll see, as you've already seen with the Champa and Vados. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards or energy and switch it to rest mode. Very nice effect. Being able to effectively, for 0, just tap something down is very nice. Then you can just attack into it and kill it, which is cool. Alright, Caulifla, oh, I didn't even rank it. So we're going to give this girl a 3. Alright, next up, Caulifla, the Bold Sister. It's a 1 cost, 4k permanent. This card can't be KO'd by your opponent's skills. Auto, whenever you play this card, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up the 1 blue or yellow Universe 6 card among them, add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Your standard tutor, we're going to give it a 2. Caulifla, the Resilient Sister. It's a 4 cost 10k, which is gross. Permanent, if your opponent has 6 or more cards in rest mode, you can play this card from your hand without paying its energy cost. Yeah, you can play it for free, which is cool. There are cards that interact because you need a 4-drop Caulifla, but 6 or more cards in rest mode's a big ask. So we're gonna go to 1 star. Alright, Champa the Trickster, 3 cost counterplay, play this card. He's a 15k too. Permanent, if a multicolor card is in your energy, reduce the energy cost of the card in your hand by 1. We've seen this. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose the 1 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, switch it to rest mode, then draw 1 card if it's your opponent's turn. That is so good. So, they're like, hey, cool, I'm going to play my Height of Mastery. And they're like, okay, cool, now I'm going to play my Champa, and now you're tapped, and I get to draw. Or, I don't know, anything. Like, anything big with barrier, or anything. It doesn't have to have barrier. You can play, like, 2, okay, cool, tap it down, draw a card. Fantastic. 4-star card. Alright, Frost, Path to the Full Power. This is your standard, recycle card, so those get 4s. Hidden Ambition Zamasu is a 2 cost, 4k, indestructible, barrier, deflect, a lot of keywords. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose the 1 blue Goku Black card with an energy cost of 2 or less in your hand and play it. This is the card we mentioned earlier. You pay this for 2, you pay the Goku Black, that then goes and searches the Master Application and puts that into play. This card like literally can't be interacted with like whatsoever. So we're gonna give the guy a 3. Alright, next up we have Hit, Time Skip Hit, the leader. Activate main once per turn. Choose one card in your life, add it to your hand. Then choose up the 1 blue or yellow Universe 6 card, energy cost the 1 in your hand, and play it. Awaken when your life is at 4 or less, you may draw 1 card, then choose one of your energy, switch to active mode, then flip this card over. Time Skip Hit. On the backside, auto whenever this card attacks, draw a card. Auto whenever your opponent's leader card flips to its front, choose up the 1 blue or yellow Universe 6 card in your drop area with energy cost of 3 or less, and play it. Activate main once per turn. Choose 1 card in your hand, place it in your drop area. Choose up the 1 blue or yellow Universe 6 card in your hand with an energy cost of 2 or less, and play it. So like we talked about, the other 2 yellow leaders are like really good. This is one of those who's really good. He's got a lot of interesting effects. Being able to awaken yourself is nice. We don't see that a whole lot with the leaders in this set, with the exception of Gohan so far. And then you get the Chi to do that in the play, so you're not negging, you're staying neutral. And then if you play like the Kaba that draws a card, you're plussing. So Hit gets a 4. Hit's very good. Yeah, Hit's very good. Alright, Hit after Image Master. 2 cost 1 yellow. Auto whenever you play this card from your hand. Your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and sends it to the warp. Very good. Activate main. Send this card to its owner's warp. At the start of your next main phase, if your leader card is a yellow Universe 6 card, play this card that was sent to the warp by this skill in its owner's drop area. It's worded weird, but basically what it says, you send it to your warp the next turn and put it back into play. Its first effect, whenever you pitch a card, only works whenever you play this from hand, so you can't just like loop hand destruction that way, unfortunately. But the card's still very good for what it's going into. It's such a necessary piece. I'm going to give it a 4. Alright, next up, Hit, Pride of Universe 6. It is a 5 cost 20k EX Evolve for 2 yellow and 1 other, off a yellow hit with energy cost of 2. A dual attack, Auto Bond 2, Universe 6. When a card evolves into this card, if your leader card is a yellow Universe 6 card, and you have 4 more energy, flip your opponent's leader card to the front. If you do, your opponent can't activate the leader card's Awaken or Wish skills until the end of their next turn. So, you turn your 15k opponent's leader back into a 10k for a turn, or 2 turns effectively. And they can't awaken again for 2 turns, which is very strong. That's the first time we've ever had anything like this before. So very good, obviously. And then you saw with the Hit leader, if you're flipped and you flip them, you get to put a dude into play. So that's really good too. Then activate main once per turn. Choose up one of your opponent's battle cards and negate its skills for the duration of the turn. Send it to its owner's warp. At the end of your opponent's next turn, play the card sent to the warp by this skill from the warp to its owner's drop area and rest mode, or battle area and rest mode. So you choose something that you're like, I don't like that thing, get it out of here, as long as it doesn't have barrier. So it's really cool. It's a very good card. It's 5-star. Very, very good. Alright, Ironclad Defense Frost, 4 cost, 20k blocker. Auto, during your turn, at the end of the battle, after you combo with this card, choose one of your yellow Frost cards in your battle area and place this card on top of it. Then switch this card to active mode. I'm going to give this card 2-star. There's not a lot of great 2-drop hits outside of like the combo hit, and you don't want to combo that because you want to play that to do this. So it's 2-star. Alright, and Frost sucks. Alright, Kefla's Fury. It's a 2-cost counterplay. If your leader card is yellow, draw 2 cards. So all the other colors got great counterplay cards, and yellow got this. So I used to say, oh, well, they've got Bloodlust, so it's fine. Now they only got 1 Bloodlust, so it's not fine. This is 2-star. This is the worst of the counterplay cards. Alright, Magetta, Defender of Universe 6. It is a super combo. What's cool about this one over the other one is that this isn't restricted to a yellow leader, it's only restricted to Universe 6 leader, and then you can do this at 5 life. So the leaders that like instantly come to mind are the red Universe 6 leaders like the Kefla, the Kale, and the Caulifla, especially the Kefla, because the Kefla has a really nice effect to pitch card, draw cards. So we're going to give it a 3. It's a super combo. Namekian Partner Purina, 2 cost, 1 yellow. Whenever you play this card, choose 1 Namekian Purina from your deck, add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. And then Namekian Partner Saiyans, I'm not going to say that. 2 cost, auto, whenever you play this card, choose the 1 Namekian Partner Purina from your deck, add it to your hand, shuffle your deck. These both get 2 stars. They're not great. They're 10k vanillas effectively. Yeah, you can put them into play and stuff with the leader, but these aren't great. Next up, Restrain. This is our drop negate. Its gimmick is you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards with a cost of 1 or less and switch it to rest mode. Still good. These get a 3-star. Saiyan Bloodline Vegeta. Auto. Whenever this card attacks, look at the 2 cards from the top of your deck, choose the 1 blue or yellow Saiyan card among them, add it to your hand, then place the remaining cards in the drop area. So this is like effectively like your everybody's pal Yamcha except for Saiyans, blue-yellow Saiyans. It's a 2-cost 15. Like the most important thing about him is because he's a 2-cost 15k Vegeta. He's a target for your Vegito leader to put this into play, so then you can fusion into Meteoric Energy Vegito. So that's why this card is the way it is. So it gets a 3-star. Alright. Moving on, Super Saiyan 2 Kefla, Saiyan Synthesis. So this is the Infinity Rare, so it's got the same thing with no other colors and all that kind of stuff. It's a 4-cost 20k, active main for 4. Choose 1 card in your hand, place it in the drop area, play this card from your hand. Yeah. Wait, what? Is that right? Oh, for 2. Need to get that fixed. So you can pay 2 and then just play this by pitching a card, which is okay. You're kind of restricted on your colors and everything like that. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose the one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barriers, switch it to rest mode. That's alright. And then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and rest mode and KO it. This is probably the worst of all the same. Maybe the blue one, Trunks might be worse. It's okay. You can play it for 2, and because you can play it for 2, that means you're able to play it earlier. So you are able to play other colors because you can just play those after you play this. I don't like having to pitch a card, but it has cool effects, and it's a 20k that you can play for 2. I'm gonna give her a 2-star. I don't think she's great. Alright, next up, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. He is a vanilla Vegeta. We'll give it a 2-star. Weak Spot Protection. Activate Battle. This is a 1-cost extra card. If your leader card is Universe 6 card, it gets plus 10,000 power for the duration of the turn. These cards are always good. We'll give it a 3-star. Alright, Zamasu, Inviting Despair. It's a 4-cost 15k indestructible. Permanent battle cards chosen with this card's seals can't be switched to active mode. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose up the 2 Saiyan, Earthling, and or God cards in your opponent's battle area and switch them to rest mode. So effectively, as long as this boy stays on the field, which he'll stay on the field for a while because he's indestructible, the 2 cards that you pick are perma-locked, which is really cool. He does cost 4, which is a little weird, but not weird. It's not great. There's a way to cheat him out for 3, which I think is a little bit more appropriate. But we're gonna give this guy a 3-star. I think it's good. It's just not busted or anything like that. Next up, Zamasu the Mastermind. This is a 2-drop 5k blocker permanent. If there's a Goku black card in your battle area or later area, you can play this card from your hand without paying its energy cost. We're gonna give it a 2. That's a cool effect. Free blockers are nice. Zero Mortals Plan. 3-cost 2 yellow extra card. Permanent. This card gains desire in all areas. Activate main, choose 1 Zamasu card in your battle area without indestructible and place it in its owner's drop area. Then choose up the 1 Zamasu card in your hand with indestructible and energy costs 4 or less and play it. So the wombo combo is you play the blocker for free, then you play Zero Mortals Plan, you pop the blocker, and then you play the Inviting Despair, and then tap 2 of your opponent's stuff down. I'm going to give it a 2, just because that's a lot of stuff that you're probably not going to do. So. And that is all of our yellow cards. So now we get to move over to black. Alright, first up, an Unexpected Turn. It's a 1-cost extra card counterplay. If your opponent has 3 or more battle cards in play with an energy cost of 2 or more, the battle card your opponent is playing is placed in his owner's drop area instead. Then choose all battle cards with energy cost of 2 or less, ignoring barrier, and send them to their owner's warp. So, this is the black equivalent of all the extra cards that we've seen, the counterplay. This costs 1, where all the other ones cost 2. This one's way more restrictive. They have to have, the card they're playing has to be the 4th battle card. And all their battle cards have to have a cost of 2 or more in order for this to work. But if you hit all those triggers, then it just, gets rid of it. Which is nice, assuming it doesn't have Deflect. And it only costs 1, and it's not leader restrictive. So it has a lot of pluses, but it also has a lot of negs. We're gonna give this guy Right now, he's going to get a 2. If the game changes, he could be higher. But the restrictive is so high, so he's going to stay at a 2. Alright, next up, Assembling the Squad. 2 cost, black extra card, permanent. This card gains desire in all areas. After activate main, if you lead a card as a Shenron card, choose 1 battle card from your deck with energy cost of 2 or less and power of 15,000 or less. Play it, then shuffle your deck. No questions asked. This is a 5-star card. This is the replacement for Child's Wish. You get cards out of the deck. Obviously, it's more restrictive because it's 2 costs or less, 15k or less, as opposed to 3 costs or less. So that is a big difference, actually, but this brings so much deck strategy back in the game. There's so many decks that instantly become viable again because this type of card is in the format. I don't think it's a problem yet, like Child's Wish was. It does have the potential to absolutely be a problem. Obviously, this limits design space moving forward for 2 costs or less. So they do have to be careful for that. As long as they watch it, then the card is fine. But just be aware this card does have the potential to cause problems in the future. But as of right now, it is a 5-star card. Fantastic card. Next up, Demigra the Sorcerer. So 1 cost black. Auto. Whenever you play this card, you may choose 1 card from life, add it to your hand. If you do, your opponent chooses a card in their hand, places them in their drop area until they have 12 cards in hand. You're playing this for the first effect, the pay 1, take 1, instead of having to pay 1 for a 1 or a 5k that swings, that doesn't get around Crisis Crusher. That's really what this card's here for. Its secondary effect isn't like irrelevant for cards that like to just like have mad hand advantage. You're talking about like your Wish type decks. It's just not going to be like super relevant in the point of the game that you're going to want to play this. And like in a Demigra deck, I could see it. It's not leader restrictive, so you can play it with any leader, which is nice because a lot of the leaders didn't have access to a card like this. I do think the card's very good though, just because it's pay 1, take 1. So for that, it gets a 3-star. Alright, Son Goku Dimensional Defender. 3 cost, 15k, overwhelm 3 for 1. Whenever this card attacks, you may choose 1 card in your life, add it to your hand. If you do, choose up to 2 black battle cards in your warp and place them in drop area. This is another very good card. Black didn't get a lot of love this set, but they got a lot of good stuff this set. This is Self-Awakening. This is refilling the drop so you can overwhelm again. It's a Son Goku Zeno, which is important for cards we'll see later. Overall, very solid card. We'll give it a 3. Alright, Son Goku Making an Entrance. Counterattack, negate the attack, and play this card. It is a 1 cost 5k battle card, so it's a negate for 1, but it doesn't have a combo power. It's 0/0, which is just ridiculous to me. I don't understand why. This card's hard to evaluate. In most situations, you would prefer to have a battle card that negates an attack because you can just combo with it, but you can't do that with him. I'm going to give him a 2. Next up, Son Goku Saiyan Transcendence. It is a 5 cost, 25k, double strike Zeno Evolve for 1 off of Son Goku Zeno with an energy cost of 3 or less. Permanent, if you have any non-black battle cards in your deck, hand or life, yada yada, we know this. Permanent, if you have 3 or less energy, you can't play this card from any area. Activate main once per turn. Choose up to 4 black battle cards in your warp and place them in drop areas. So, of all these cards, this is the best one, definitively. Because this is like an auto-inclusion in majority of black decks. This evolves right off of Crisis Crusher at 3 energy, which is fantastic. Because at that point in the game, you don't care about 1-drops as much. This evolves off the Dimensional Goku that we just saw that cuts a life and puts 2 in the drop. In decks that are overwhelming a lot, like Demigra, this is filling the drop up a lot in combination with what Demigra's doing, so you can overwhelm multiple times in a turn. I think this card's actually very good. I'm going to go ahead and reach here and give it a 4-star because I think this card's very good. Super Saiyan Trunks. It is a vanilla with no combo power. We're giving it a 2. Supreme Kai of Time, Time Regulator. It's a 1 cost blocker, auto. Whenever you play this card, draw a card. It's a 3k, so it's a Toki target. It's a blocker, so it's annoying. It draws a card, giving it a 2. Time Transmission G. It's a 4 cost extra card. Activate main. Choose up to 1 black battle card with an energy cost 4 or less in your warp and play it. If the battle card played with this skill has Overwhelm or Dark Overwhelm, choose 2 of your energy and switch this to active mode. So we had a card similar to this in Dark Plot, but it didn't interact with Dark Overwhelm, and Dark Plot untapped 3, I believe, and this untaps 2. 2-star. Dark Plot's never been played. This card probably won't be played. Toki Toki City, the hype card. Field card, 1 cost, black extra or black field card. Auto, whenever you play this card using Overwhelm, place the top card of your deck under this card, activate man, choose 3 cards under this card, and send them to your warp. If your leader card is black, battle cards you play using Overwhelm aren't sent to the warps at the end of this turn. So some restriction notes. If you play a card with Dark Overwhelm, this doesn't count to put a card underneath it because they're 2 separate mechanics. So you just have to Overwhelm, which is generally fine. That's not that much of a restriction, but it is something to be aware of. This is obviously very good. You play this on turn 1, you Overwhelm on turn 1, you turn 2 Overwhelm, turn 3 Overwhelm. By then you're Awakening, and then you go into the Wormhole with Demigra, obviously, and then now all those Overwhelm cards that you're playing stick. One in particular is the Fu the Dark Banisher that has the permanent. Whenever your opponent activates a skill, they have to pitch a card. So this is a very good card. Obviously, people knew it was a good card when it was printed. I'm not going to go quite as far as a 5-star card because it is so restrictive to just black leaders, which is probably fair. But we're going to give it a 4-star for sure because I think it is a very good card. I think it may just make Demigra just playable. It's good in Toa too, absolutely. So that's a thing as well. Alright. Toa Dimension Leaper. It is a 2-cost, 1k blocker revenge. Counterplay. Choose 2 cards from a drop area and send them to warp. Play this card. This card is pretty okay. People are like, oh, this counters Hide Mastery. No, it doesn't. Because you put this into play first, then Hide Mastery comes into play, and Hide Mastery is like, cool, tap, and now you're stuck. And you're probably not going to have the energy open to play this whenever Victor Strike comes out, or it would be very good. But this is just like, cool. I'm dropping Gogeta Stefan. Alright, Toa. GG. That's a very good card for that. So it does have limited space. You can put it into play on your opponent's turn, which is nice, by putting 2 cards to your warp, and then paying its energy cost. So it is a good card. It's like a sideboard MVP, probably. We're going to give it a 3. Alright, Trunks Time Regulator, 3 cost, Overwhelm 3. Whenever you play this card with Overwhelm, draw 2 cards and choose 1 card in your hand and send it to your warp. This is like a lesser version of Bardock Awakened Instincts. The only difference is it costs 1 less to Overwhelm, which generally isn't that big of a deal. I could potentially see this getting more play in like a Pan deck over the Bardock because this is an Earthling, so everybody's pal can search this, and then it still becomes a 20k. It draws you 3, pitches 1. It is a Trunks, so there are some things that interact with that kind of with Evolve and all that kind of stuff. I think Bardock the Awakened Instinct is just better, like 90% of the time though. So we're going to give this guy a 2. Alright, Vegeta making an entrance. It's a 1 cost, 15k. Counter. Choose 3 cards in your battle area, or choose 3 cards with energy cost of 3 or more and power of 35,000 power or less in your drop area and place them at the bottom of your deck in any order. Play this card. Permanent. This card can only be played by any area using counter, and only 1 Vegeta making an entrance can be played in your battle area. So this is like the recycle combo cards, except this isn't a combo card, so you can't pick when you get to play this. You have to play this off of an opponent's counter. And it doesn't, despite what people thought when it was first revealed, it has no interaction with said counter. So it's not like a bad ring or anything like that. God forbid. That would have been gross. But this does shuffle things back in. It's a little worse than the other ones in terms of you don't ever get to pick when you play it. But it is a 15k battle card that costs 1. So we're still going to give it a 3. And that is all of our black cards. So now we're moving into the expert deck. It is called Universe 6 Assailants or something like that. Alright. So first up we got Kaba and Vegeta and Kaba, Master and Pupil. So permanent. You can't include non-Universe 6 battle cards in your deck except for Vegeta cards. That's fine. Auto, whenever you play a blue or yellow Universe 6 card, that card gets plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn, then choose up to 1 card in your life and add it to your hand. Very, very, very important side note. This is not once per turn, and it's not just on your turn. So if you play cards on your opponent's turn, take a life. If you play 3 Universe 6 cards on your turn, take 3 life, and they all get plus 5k. That is fantastic. Permanent on the backside. This card gets plus 5,000 power when all of your opponent's energy is in rest mode. That's kind of cool. Auto, whenever this card attacks, draw 1 card, which is good. Auto, whenever your opponent's leader card attacks, if all of your opponent's energy is in rest mode, choose up to 2 of your opponent's energy. Cards chosen with this card's skill can't be switched to active mode during your opponent's next charge phase. Incredible ability. Auto, once per turn. When one of your card skills switches an opponent's battle card or energy to rest mode, draw 1 card. That's not restricted to you or your opponent's turn. That basically says, hey, I'm going to pay 1 for Crusher Ball and draw a card because I'm cool. I'll just be the first and flat out to say it. I think this is probably the best leader in the set, hands down. Obviously, it does have restrictions. You can't play any of the silver bullet type cards, no Tien, no Tao, any of that kind of stuff. No Haru Haru, which is relevant. But other than that, you can play any extra cards you want. So you can play Senzu Bean, you can play Nimbus, you can play all that kind of stuff, Time Magic. You do get any Vegeta card that you want for whatever relevancy that is. There's not a ton that are like in that blue or yellow that you just absolutely would want to play. But the fact that you can control your awakening is great. It's not a once per turn, so it's like a pay-in but better. So you can like turn 1, play the 1-drop Kappa that draws you a card. Now you're paying 1, drawing 2 cards. Then turn 2, play like the 1-drop Kale, draw a card. She gets a card off the top of the deck, put it in your hand. The 1-drop Caulifla, like take a life, give her plus 5k, get a card off the top of the deck. And then we'll get to another card in a little bit that you can fusion both of them. Now she gets plus 5, plus an additional 5 for herself. You take a life. Now you're awoken on turn 2, and now you have this ability that interacts with your leader, your opponent's leader, having energy untapped. And what did we talk about? What is yellow doing? Yellow and blue? It's tapping your opponent's stuff down. And if you're able to get to this early, you put your opponent in like a really awkward situation where they have to sequence correctly. If they try to play stuff before their leader swings, then they're caught awkwardly. Or now that they're swinging with their leader before they're playing stuff, Nimbus. Like now you just stop all their aggression. Fantastic leader. Like I said, I low-key think this is probably the best leader in the game. Or not the game, let's not be that hyperbolic, but for the set, I do think it's the best leader. So because of that, it is getting a 5-star. Yeah, I think this leader is very good. I think people are overlooking it or intentionally not talking about it, but I do think it's very good. Energy Lock is a great ability to have in the game that we've not had access to, and this does it very well. Alright, Kaba, Saiyan of Universe 6 is a 2-drop 5k auto. Whenever you play this card, look at the 7 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 2 blue or yellow Universe 6 cards among them, add them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. If you added a card to your hand, choose 1 card from your hand and place it in the drop area. So it's just a top searcher for 2, which isn't bad. Auto, whenever you play this card, if Planet Sadala is in your battle area, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode. Cards chosen with this card's skills can't be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's turn. Tapping stuff down is good, and locking them down for a turn is very good too. So we'll give Kaba, we'll give it a 2. It's not like just fantastic, it's good, but it's not like busted. Alright, Caulifla, Troublemaker Universe 6, 2-drop, 10k, auto. Whenever you play this card, choose 1 card in your life, add it to your hand. If you do, choose up to 1 of your opponent's energy and switch it to rest mode. Again, now you're tapping energy down again. You play this with your leader for 2, you get a 15k, you take 2 life and tap their stuff down. Very, very good. We'll give her a 3. Champa, Scheming God of Destruction. It is a 3-cost, 1 blue, 15k auto. Whenever you play this card, choose the 1 of your blue or yellow Universe 6 card in your battle area other than this card, and it gets plus 10,000 power and double strike for the duration of the turn. I don't think this card is bad, it's just expensive. So we're going to give it a 2. Alright, Frost, Deadly Poison. It is a extra card with Energy Exhaust, which is cool. Costs 3, 1 blue, 1 yellow. Counterplay. The battle card your opponent is playing is placed in rest mode with its skills negated for the duration of the turn, then draw 1 card. Then if its Then if your life is at 3 or less, choose up to one of your blue or yellow energy and switch it to active mode. So this is like a Crusher Ball and a Cold Bloodlust all in one, which is really neat. Plus you get to draw and then untap something. It is expensive. At 3, it's like really expensive actually. It's effectively it costs 2, but you have to have 3 energy open in order to play it. So for that, we have to keep it down lower. It's probably a 2-star card. Alright, hit. Ace of Universe 6, 2 costs, 10k. Auto, Bond 2, Universe 6. Whenever you play this card, reduce the combo cost of blue and yellow Universe 6 cards in your hand by 1 for the duration of the turn. It's a very strong effect. We saw this on the Kava and Vados earlier. I think that's still better, but this is an evolve target for the hit. We're going to give him a 2 because I just don't think it's fantastic. Alright, and then next up we got Planet Sadala. It's a field card for 1 yellow, 1 blue. Energy Exhaust Auto. When this card is placed in your battle area, choose up the 1 Universe 6 card from your hand with an energy cost of 2 or less and play it. If you played a card, draw a card. So it puts a Universe 6 into play and you get to draw a card. If you're playing Kaba, then that card gets plus 5k and you take a life. That's really cool. Auto, whenever this card is placed in a drop area from a battle area, choose up to 1 of your opponent's energy and switch it to rest mode. Then look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up the 1 Universe 6 card with energy cost of 5 or less among them, and then add it to your hand and shuffle your deck. So, the only way that we have to actually remove our own field cards is by just playing another one of it. And a lot of decks, it's just like fantastic, like why? But this is actually worth it because they work off of each other whenever one gets removed and everything like that. So I think these are very good. These may be staple-ish in the Kaba Lock deck. Not 100% sure, but we're going to put these at 3. Alright, Sisterly Bond Kale. So this is a 2 cost, 8k, or 9k, excuse me. Auto, whenever you play this card from your hand, and your leader card is a Universe 6 card, look at the 10 cards from the top of your deck. Choose the 1 blue or yellow Kaba or Caulifla card among them with energy cost of 2 or less, and play it, and shuffle your deck. So, on 2, we play her. She goes and searches for a Caulifla or Kaba, puts it into play. If we're Kaba, we take 1 life here and 1 life off the other card we play. So it's great. Fantastic. We will give her a 3-star. Alright, Vegeta and Kaba, Master Pupil Bond. It is a 3-cost multicolored card for 1 blue, 1 yellow, 19k barrier with Aegis. Auto, whenever this card activates Aegis, you may choose 1 card from your hand and place it in your drop area. If you do, choose the 1 blue or yellow Universe 6 card in your drop area with an energy cost of 2 or less and no keyword skill, and play that card. This card is good. It's not great. This allows us to play cards on our opponent's turn, but by the time this comes into play, we're probably already flipped with Kaba anyway. And the card's skills are negated, but we are able to like ramp up a board. I'm going to give this card a 2 because I just don't think it's fantastic. It's good, it does cool things, but I don't think it's necessary. Alright, next up, Vegeta, Saiyan of Universe 7. Auto, or it's a 4-cost, 2 blue, 20k. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose but 2 of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 3 or less, return them to your owner's hand, then draw that many cards. So, at the top end, you're paying 4 to bounce 2, draw 2. At the low end, you're paying 4 for a 20k vanilla. That doesn't feel great. It's too expensive. We're gonna give it a 2. Alright, now we're gonna move on over into the starter deck, Saiyan Legacy. This is our red-green starter deck. So first up, Faded Kaioken Son Goku. It is a 4-cost extra or multicolored card for a red and a green. It is a 20k arrival for red and green. Energy Exhaust, permanent, only 1 Faded Kaioken Son Goku can be played in your battle area. Activate main once per turn, choose 1 card in your life and add it to your hand. If your leader is at 3 or less and your leader card is a Saiyan card, this card gains double strike and dual attack for the duration of the turn. This card is actually pretty good. There are a lot of applications for this. You can just like put this in Pan that's running multicolor, and it's actually very good in that. Because then it comes out to 25k, draws you a card. You can take a life, draw another card, and it gains double strike and dual attack. So it's 25k double dual, which is really nice. So I think this card's pretty good. I'm gonna give this card a 4. I think it's really good. Next up, King Vegeta and then King Vegeta, leader of the Saiyans. So front side, permanent. You can't include non-Saiyan battle cards in your deck. There's like 90% Saiyan cards in the game, so that's not that big of a restriction. Activate main once per turn. Choose one card from your life, add it to your hand. Look at the 5 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to one red or green Saiyan card, or King Vegeta's Dynasty among them, add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. So he's not like purely drawing, but he's search drawing, so that's fine too. Awaken. When you have King Vegeta's Dynasty in your battle area and 3 or more cards in your energy, you may draw one card, then choose up to one of your energy and switch to active mode. So this means, at best, you're not flipping until turn 3, which is kind of bad. King Vegeta, leader of the Saiyans. On the backside, activate main once per turn. Choose one. You may choose one red or green Saiyan card in your battle area and place it in its owner's drop area. If you do, draw one card, and this card gains plus 5,000 power and double strike for the duration of the turn. So that's not terrible. You have to sacrifice a card, but you're able to like swing with something and then pop it off to draw a card and get plus 5 and double strike, which isn't terrible. Or choose one battle card in your hand with energy cost of 2 or less and play it with its skills negated for the duration of the turn, then draw one card. That one's pretty cool because you're able to like swarm the field. Overall, I think this leader's mediocre. I don't think it's that good. People are like, oh, I'm going to play veggies in my King Vegeta deck. And I was like, there's not a lot of synergy here. Because once you play them, you negate their skills if you play them off the ability. So at that point, just play it with like a different, better leader that interacts with it more. So yeah, I give King Vegeta a 2. I don't think it's great. Alright, next up, King Vegeta's Dynasty. So this is the field card. It's a 1 red, 1 green, multicolor. Auto, whenever this card is placed in your battle area and your leader card is a King Vegeta, choose the 1 Saiyan card with an energy cost of 2 or less in your hand and play it with its skills negated for the duration of the turn. If you played a card, draw 2 cards. So that's cool. So you play one, you play it, you play one from your hand, then you draw 2 cards. So you're replacing everything in your hand, which is pretty cool. You're getting stuff in play, which is good too. It's just that the skills are negated for the turn. That's so bad. I know why. It keeps it from getting like out of hand, but it still feels bad. Then auto, whenever your opponent attacks with a card, you may choose one card in your energy area, switch it to rest mode, and place this card in its owner's drop area. If you do, negate the attack. That's pretty cool. So it's a negate on a stick off of a field card. So this gets around, would have got around things like battering, but that's gone. So that's not an issue anymore. So, pretty cool. We're going to give it a 3. It is stuck to King Vegeta, which is unfortunate. I think it's a pretty good card. Alright, Raditz, Earth Invader. It is a 2 cost, 15k. Auto, when King Vegeta's Dynasty in your battle area is placed in his owner's drop area, activate this skill. If Raditz, Earth Invader isn't in play in your battle area, you may play this card from your hand. So it's a free 15k. That gets played whenever the field card gets popped, or you pop it for the negate. So it's not too bad. We're going to give it a 2. And then finally, Vegeta Royal Prince. It is a 2 cost, 10k. Activate main once per turn. Choose one card in your life, add it to your hand. This card gets plus 5,000 power and critical for the duration of the turn. I like this card. I think this is probably the best card out of the starter deck. This is our Vegeta target off the Raditz that searches for a Vegeta and a Nappa 10k or less, energy cost of 2. This is a Self-Awakening card, and it's a 15k critical. Since it's a 2 cost, it gets around Crisis Crusher, which is really cool. Overall, I think this card's actually very good. We're going to give it a 3-star. And that is it for the starter deck. So now we are going to get into some promos. So these are the tournament pack promos. So there's 8 of these, and we'll get into these. So first up, we got Yajirobe Chasing Tail, which just, first of all, that name is fantastic. It's a 3 cost, 4k, 1 red. Permanent, if a green Vegeta card with an energy cost of 6 is in play in a battle area, you can play this card from your hand without paying its energy cost. And then auto, whenever you play this card, you can't play Yajirobe Chasing Tail for the duration of the turn. Activate main once per turn. Choose up to 1 green Vegeta card with an energy cost of 6 in a battle area. Place it in its owner's drop area. Draw 1 card. So this is kind of how you close out the Vegeta ape chain. You go on 3, you play the Vegeta that gets the Power Ball. You evolve into the Great Ape. You swing or do whatever because it doesn't die. Next turn, you play this for free. You sack him. You go get the 6-drop, put him into play. And then you can pay 2 energy, burn your opponent, swing, make them warp 2. So you're going up the chain for 4 on turn 4, which is actually pretty good. Makes the engine better because you have a free-to-play one as opposed to the 2-cost one. It's better than the 2-cost one. It is still only works in this actual... Well, you can play this in as a side deck. Like, hey, cool, they're playing Vegeta, kill it and draw a card. We're going to give it a 3 because it works really well with that whole deck. Alright, next up we've got Kaba, Bonds of Universe 6. It's a 1-cost 5k. Whenever you play this card, if there's a Universe 6 battle card in your drop area, you may choose 1 card in your hand, place it in your drop area. If you do, choose up the 1 blue or yellow non-Kaba Universe 6 card with energy cost of 1 in your drop area and play it. This is just play more cards, recursion. You're still having to pitch a card, which is kind of weird, but the card you bring into play typically has a search effect to get off another one, so it's replacing itself and everything like that, so it makes up for it. So all in all, we're going to give it a 3. And next up, Trunks, Helping Blast. It's a 3-cost 5k blocker revenge permanent. Only 1 Trunks Helping Bond can be played in your battle area, and if you have a battle card in your battle area that is both red and green, you can play this card from your hand without paying its energy cost. So it's a free 5k blocker with revenge, which isn't bad. You are restricted to having a multicolored card in play, which is a little annoying. So we're going to give it a 2. Next up, Secret Desires Zamasu. It's a 1-drop 4k auto. Whenever you play this card, draw a card. So right there, it's playable. Auto, whenever your opponent attacks with the card, you may choose 1 yellow card in your hand and place it in a drop area. Choose 1 of your yellow energy and switch it to rest mode. And place this card in a turner's drop area. If you do, negate the attack. I think this is a very good card. It's a negate on a stick that you can combo. It's not as good as like a Roshi Forged of Will, because that just is 1 negate. This is 1, then later 1, and pitch a card to negate, so it's not quite as good. It is a Zamasu, so it's good for all that kind of stuff. We're going to give it a 3. Alright, next up, Combo Strike Son Gohan. It is a 2-cost 15k multicolored card. Auto, once per turn, whenever this card attacks or is attacked, you may choose 1 card in your hand, place it in your drop area. If you do, choose up to 1 battle card in your drop area that is both red and green, and combo with it in your combo area. These cards are weird. So basically, every time it swings, it's a 25k if you pitch a card, because all of the multicolored cards are 110ks. Not a lot of them have like combo effects. Some of the blue and yellow ones do. But I don't think any of the red-green ones do. So these cards are weird. Like, they're okay. They're not great. We're going to give it a 2. I guess the important thing is the Son Gohan Adolescence, but it costs 2, so it can't evolve off the 1. So yeah, these are weird. Alright, Nappa, Vegeta's Underling, 2-cost, multicolored card, 10k, permanent. This card can't be KO'd by your opponent's skills, so he kind of just chills. Auto. Whenever you play this card, you may choose 1 card in your hand and place it in your drop area. If you do, look at up to 10 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 2 red or green Raditz or Vegeta cards with energy cost of 3 or less among them and add them to your hand and shuffle your deck. So, the 1-drop Raditz that goes and finds a Nappa and Vegeta, like, this is probably the optimal target for him to find, as opposed to the Nappa the Cultivator. Because then he puts 2 cards into your hand. Well, it puts 1 card in your hand because you have to pitch a card to do it. But you're not paying to play this guy out of your hand. It's coming out of the Raditz effect, so you're not really negging. So you're going +1. So for that, we're going to give it a 3. Alright, next up, Brilliant Pairing Kefla. This one's very good. It's a 4-cost multicolored card, 1 blue, 1 yellow, dual attack, Union Batara for free, off a blue Kale and a yellow Caulifla. Permanent. Only 1 Brilliant Pairing Kefla can be played in your battle area, and this card can't be played from any area unless your leader is yellow. So hit and Kaba. So I kind of alluded to this earlier. So you can go like turn 1, 1-drop Kappa, draw a card, take a life with Kappa leader. Turn 2, play the 2-drop Kale that searches top 10 for a yellow or blue Caulifla and puts it into play. So you pay that, you take a life, she gets 5k. You get the Caulifla, put it into play, she gets 5k, you take a life, and then her effect triggers to search something off the top, whatever. And then you union into this for free. She gains the 5k from the Kale and the Caulifla. So now she is a 29k. You take a life from Kaba, and she gets 5k herself. So she's a 34k dual attacker that you just paid nothing for. That swings twice. It's a fantastic card. This really helps that whole deck in general, but especially the Kaba. So we're gonna give this one a 4. Alright, next up, Combo Strike Vegito. So this is the same as the Gohan that we saw earlier. So I'm not really, except this is for blue and yellow combo cards. So we're gonna give this guy a 2, because I don't think it's much better. Okay, so that is all of those. Alright, next up we have those are the tournament packs. These are the dash packs. So you get these out of the pre-release this time, as opposed to just by buying product whenever. Alright, so first up we've got Energy Volley Gogeta. It's a 5-drop, 25k. Yeah, and it has Double Strike, EX Evolve for 3 red off of a Veku BR with energy cost of 3. Auto, when a card evolves into this card, your opponent reveals their hand, choose the 1 battle card with 35,000 power or less from it and place it in your opponent's drop area. So right off the bat, its effect is very good. You can just like, oh cool, give me that Hada Mastery, or give me that hit, or something like that. But you have to remember, it evolves off of a Veku BR with an energy cost of 3. The only ones that we have right now of those are the Fat Veku and the Thin Veku that evolve for free. But you remember what those cards did? You pitched it, and you got the 2 fusion pieces back. You don't get that when you do this. So you fuse that out, then you play this, and now you're negging 4 cards for negging your opponent 1. It is Double Strike 25k, so it's got some good things. The Goku and Vegeta BR Gogeta deck didn't have like a turn 3 play. Really, you had like the search cards, but this is a possible turn 3 play for you. So you can like make sure what's in their hand before you go into the 4-drop. But you're losing a lot of hand advantage at that point, which you are drawing a ton of cards in that deck, so it's not like you're negging per se, like a ton, but 4 cards is a lot. So because of that, we're going to give this guy a 2. Alright, next up we've got, that's just the other art of it, Trunks, Hope of the Saiyans. 2 cost, 15k. Auto, whenever this card attacks, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose up 1 blue Saiyan card among them, add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. I think this one's just kind of generic, but it's generically good. This is also assembling the squad target. So we're going to give this a 3. Alright, next up, Overwhelming Energy Broly. 6 cost, 25k, Double Strike. Broly BR, by the way. Auto, whenever you play this card, and your leader card is a green Frieza's Army card. If there are 3 more battle cards in play, enter battle area, draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. Activate main. Choose 1 Broly BR card with energy cost of 7 from your hand and play it. So, right off the bat, this can't be played with starter Broly. I mean, I guess technically it could, but not until not if you can't awaken yet. So this is meant for Paragus, and this is meant for Chilai. Chilai draws a ton of cards, so this first auto is not overly relevant to Chilai. Maybe more so for Paragus. But what this does is you can like kind of wish this boy out, or go up the Broly chain, and then like swing, go Double Strike, use its ability, and whenever it comes into play, like you fill up your hand, and then you pay 1 to play the 7-drop Broly that has critical. So it has a route. It's not just like terrible. It's not necessarily great. We're gonna give it a 3 though. Alright, and this is our last one. Vegeta, a Master's Temperament. It's a 4 cost, 20k. Dual attack. Auto, whenever you play this card and your leader card is yellow, if your opponent has 4 more energy and a combo card is in play in your battle area, choose up to 2 of your opponent's energy, switch them to rest mode, and cards chosen with this card's skill can't switch to active mode during your opponent's next turn. So this is more going along the lines of what Cop is doing with tapping energy down. This is a Vegeta, so you can play it in that deck. So very good card. Dual attack is nice. We're going to give it a 3. Alright, so yeah, that is the last of that. Last cards that we have left to look at are the SCRs, and excuse the art or the image, they're kind of potato, but this is all we have right now. Alright, so first up we've got Power of Potara, Vegito, Kefla, and Zamasu. It's an 8-drop, multicolored, 3 blue, 2 yellow, triple strike, ultimate, energy exhaust, permanent. If your opponent has 6 or more energy, or has 6 or more cards in rest mode, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 3, so it becomes a 5-drop. And then auto, whenever you play this card, choose up to 4 of your opponent's cards, switch them to rest mode, then draw 4 cards. So it works with the Zamasu deck because you're ramping them, so you're going to get them to 6, so you can just play this for 5. It also works with like the Kefla stuff or the Gogeta or the Vegito stuff because you're tapping all their stuff down. So you do all that, then you can just play this bad boy for 5, draw 4 cards, which is just ridiculous. And then it has triple strike, so it can just swing in for game. I think this is good. I don't think this is like near the top of the best SCRs we've had. I don't even think this is the best of the SCRs in the set. It's cool that they're keeping on brand with what the SCRs are doing in their particular colors. So that's neat. But all in all, we're going to give this guy a 3. I think that's probably appropriate. Alright, and then finally, Super Saiyan 3 Scramble, Raditz, Vegeta, and Broly. So, he is an 8 cost, 3 red, 2 green, ultimate, arrival, red, green, for 3 red, 2 green, energy exhaust. Auto, whenever you play this card, choose 1 card in your life and place it in your drop area, then deal 2 damage to your opponent. Auto, whenever your opponent combos with a battle card with an energy cost of 2 or less, choose up to 1 of the cards in your opponent's combo area and place it in the owner's drop area. So first of all, if you're running the burn deck, this is how you close out the game. You get to turn 5, play this, cool, I don't have to attack. You're just dead. Secondly, this is like the culmination of the Broly combo effects, because this is not a once per turn. This is not a negate the skill for the duration of the turn. This is literally every single time they combo. If it has a 2 or less, get rid of it. So, that by itself is incredibly impressive. Obviously, that's why he doesn't have like dual attack or anything crazy like that. He's just a single strike. No barrier, no deflect, any of that kind of shenanigans. I think this card's very good. I think it's much better than the blue one. It's much more on brand with what the color's doing, because you can just play this for 5 with a rival, versus the other one had to meet particular requirements in order to do that. So I think this one's very good. It makes the burn deck a real deck, I think. So I think this is very good. We're going to give this boy a 4. Yeah, 4. So, all in all, you know, we're looking at set 7